Hey everyone, it is CQ and Ron, and we have a very special guest that Kristen is going to introduce, Nikki Narrative. We are so excited to be back on here. Thank you everyone for joining us for another live. Please, everyone, remember that we are not making any specific accusations. We encourage everyone to check their own facts. We are just analyzing the case and getting back into the Idaho 4.
And Nikki, we are so excited for you to come on today. I know we've been talking about this for a while. And for those of you that don't know, on TikTok, Nikki has Midwest Chicken Shore and Nikki Narrative. And then on YouTube, she has Nikki Narrative. And if you are not following her, you should be. She's one of my faves. And she was just one of those people that when I'm new to TikTok and YouTube as of within the last year. Same with Sam. I think same with Ron too. And Nikki was one of the first people that I saw on TikTok, and I could feel her passion through the screen. And so I think we just kind of started looking at each other's stuff and then DMing. And I am super excited today to call her, a really, really good friend. And I am excited to share what she has to share with us. And let's just keep diving through this wild case.
Yeah, I think first, before we get into it, I know Nikki's given us a timeline that we're going to go through of the Idaho 4, just because it's so new right now and it's subject of a topic of many discussions. What do you think of Cy Ray?
Well, I think myself and many people, I think we all kind of felt the same. And what I noticed, because I was also in the group chat watching as it was live, I feel like the majority of the people were there how I think we would want them to be. If an expert is saying something completely maybe different than his report, or changing his mind here or there, or saying there was no hair found in Ethan's hand, I think my heart dropped out of my body. And I think everybody else did too. And something I learned though from that interview, as somebody who has years of journalism behind me, I'd have to interview people before. I feel like the true crime community just did a really good job just supporting the three of you and that interview, and just somehow understanding that you guys are there to just bring light. You can't control what's going to be said, but either way, good or bad, his interview did bring some things to light. And of course, it's going to make things be questioned even more, but I don't think that's anything new with the case. So
Yeah, I think the big thing that we got from that is how, I guess, how horrible the evidence provided by the FBI and law enforcement to support the PCA, the probable cause affidavit, in the case against Brian, how horrible a job, honestly, they did. And whether it was intentional, and it's so bad that it suggests that it was intentionally misrepresented. That's a huge thing, and to me, that kind of undermines some of the belief that some, including Cy Ray, have that Brian is guilty. Because why didn't they just give the evidence that supports that he's guilty?
right.
Instead of giving us a false story about where he was and his connection with the house, which was zero.
Yeah, absolutely none.
Yeah, we had some time to process what
I can
the
imagine.
content of his interview was going to be. And, with all of the requests that we had over the last 8-9 months to try to see if we could get that interview, I knew there was going to be a lot of disappointment. But I think the goal for the three of us, and Sam and Ron can correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't so much what his conclusion was or his personal theories as an expert or not. It was more so getting the information out and getting Cy to disclose, to all of us in the true crime community and beyond, how many, not even just errors, that's not even a word you can use, but
Yeah.
how, like Ron said, how horrible the evidence was, what was concealed, what was fabricated, what was modified, what was hidden. It was. And that was a goal for the three of us, to just expose how bad that was.
And I think I genuinely think that the true crime community somehow and not in like a bad way. I just feel like it just wasn't such a negative thing, and a negative thing on the creators at the three of you doing the interview, attorneys doing it, because again, you guys can't control what's being said, and regardless, there was still very, very much important things that he said and brought up, and like you just said, how terrible of a job it was done. So regardless if someone wants to argue Brian Koberger or not, I mean, we can look at the many experts, whoever, saying that it's a multiple person job. So at the end of the day, if someone wants to believe Brian Koberger is guilty, you can have your opinion, but at the end of the day, we're talking multiple people. So we have other murderers on the street right now, and that should be an issue for everybody. So
yeah, and I know we all have our opinions, and I think we know, and some of those who are following our channel have seen mine kind of evolve as I've gotten involved in this. Could there be evidence that would convince me that Brian is guilty? Sure. I haven't seen it yet. Everything that's coming out sends me in a different direction. But more information is better. And honestly, the truth can withstand whatever you throw at it. It can, all the discussion, all the argument, all the scrutiny, the truth can withstand that. And Absolutely. So I think whatever information comes out, whatever opinions, let's look at those opinions, like Cyray's, like Dr. Turvey's, like others who have been involved. Let's examine those opinions. What are the bases under those opinions, the premises of those, and which stand up under scrutiny? And I think that's part of this whole process that we're not here to come to the conclusion that Brian did it or Brian didn't do it. We're here to come to the conclusion of who did it and how.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's well put, Ron, and I agree with everyone's statements. I think when we were interviewing Cy, one thing that I was really sort of hyper-focused on was the difference between when he was giving an expert opinion and when he was giving an opinion on other areas of the case. And it felt like in the former, he had sort of more factual support for some of the things he was saying, definitely not all of them, but his wide overall overreaching opinion wasn't really, to me, it's everyone can have an opinion. It's what it's based on, kind of how Ron was saying. And if you don't really have a certain amount of information that you can apparently provide to us, then it's hard for me to ever really even consider your overall opinion on it. So respectfully, people can have different opinions, but I just think if you don't have a factual basis to support that as an attorney, it's just not really going to be very persuasive for me at all. In fact, the absence of it really persuades me that your opinion's not necessarily based on anything.
Yeah, did the three of you notice that he kept, when he was talking about the law enforcement and the process and whether it was the procedure to gather the evidence or what, he kept saying, we were all in. We put all of our eggs in one basket with respect to the IGG. And I think I confirmed that when he said he was referring to law enforcement, but he kept doing it. And I just kept thinking, do you know what side you're representing here? Because
right.
it was just, and I think that's just someone that's been in law enforcement for 30 years. I don't know that, it's appropriate, but at the same time, he kept referring like he was part of the prosecution.
Yeah. I noticed he said he didn't know what was released and what wasn't, like several times, but he had no problem saying that there was transfer. And, said so confidently, which I think most of us, haven't seen that as far as I know. And, we're not talking about the undiluted blood here and there, we're talking about from each, victim, or as far as I took that. And he seemed to drop that, bomb, no problem. So I think, like you said, how everyone views it, I think differently in your opinions on it. But, at the end of the day, it was still a valuable interview. And I think what I am doing besides this in-depth timeline is I have actually started something else in my creation, and I have gone through your guys' interviews with each expert, and I am going through something so that way I can give it back, or make a video, whatever it ends up being, but something where they all agree on, because I think that's also important too. If you have all 4 of them agreeing on a few things, and well, that's the biggest thing that should also be shouted. So that's coming.
All right, should we get into and I know this timeline, I know firsthand personally that this is an absolute labor of love to Nikki, and I know she has truly, and for anyone that doesn't know, she's a mom of 4 and she's got littles. I have 3 and my youngest is 6, and I told her she was straight up crazy. But this has been a true labor of love for her, and the amount of hours that she's put into this is quite significant. And I'm happy that we can launch it on the show. And I'm just super proud of you, Nikki. That's awesome.
Thank you. And again, sorry, I was going to have it posted for everybody to look at the same time if they wanted to. We'll have it on the screen, but I was going to post it, but unfortunately I had power outage issues, you guys. So I will post it, they'll have it, but I'll post it after the live. Like she said, I can't even tell you how many hours I have put into this timeline. Just even in the last 24 hours, really just knocking out timestamps. I think I've sent it to Kristen 5 times in the last 3 days. I'm like, here's the updated one. Here's the updated one. Here's the updated one. But really just knocking out timestamps every minute, almost having just a timestamp of something going on that does play a factor, in my opinion, to the story. And I think looking at this timeline, in my own opinion, having it laid out the way it is, I think all anybody has to do is just read it. And I think, in my own opinion, it shows exactly what's going on.
All right.
And Ronnie's going to put it up on the screen too, Nikki, so people will be able to see it.
There we are.
Might have to zoom in for all of us blind
But I focused in the last couple of days, really nailing down timestamps between 3, 4, 5, 11, 10, really focusing on that 3:30 a.m. vehicle as well too. So just in my own opinion, when I say I think it's going to show you everything you need, or it's going to tell you everything, it's because I have it noted in the timeline as well too, as you guys read it. But I ask the viewers and the readers to really focus on the vehicles that are moving around from 3:30 to about 5:30 in the morning. I think they're very important.
So I'm going to note here, this timeline is 44 pages long.
Yep.
So we shout out to Lana. I could see her doing one of her marathon lives and going through this. We don't have that stamina.
And I think, Ron, I shared with you this morning, Lana just cracks me up. She goes, yeah, it's going to be, 2 hours live. And so we were planning on talking. And then I think it was before I started getting ready to go to bed. I was like, that girl is still going. So yeah, I agree. I wish I had Lana's energy. I want to know what supplements, if any, you're taking, Lana, because I need your stamina.
But so as we go through this, and I guess Nikki will have you kind of direct us. We want to focus on some of the more significant things, so that the time we have that we can get through them. So just tell me where to go, and just like my wife does when we're in the car.
Stop. I love it. I do the same to my husband, and I just he fix everything. So with the power outage, you guys, I was losing it. I'm like, fix it now. I was like, this can't happen. But and I think honestly, 44 pages, it's so long, but I know it pretty well at this point that I think it should be able to actually, go through it and highlight, the key points. So we could honestly just scroll through some of the sketchy friends and where they are. But sketchy. But once we start getting to, I would say, I don't know, we could start at about 2 a.m., which is a dark hour.
Okay.
Ooh, I think that's the perfect time to start.
So we'll go through a lot of this. I'll get to about 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So
and that's
for everyone, you're going to post this, and everyone can go and look. And but you said 2 a.m.?
Yeah, we can go there.
Okay.
And that does bypass, country road singing. I think most people are familiar with that. There's a lot in here. Again, nailing down exact, seconds and timestamps. But
yeah. And again, just for everyone that thinks we're skipping a lot of stuff. We're on page 11 and I'm at 2 a.m. So there's still 33 pages to go.
There's a lot. It's very detailed. I was a
It is.
former security company manager, and it was my job to watch cameras in real time. Yes, I had the ability to stop it and watch it, but my job was to watch it in real time and not let anything pass me, and dispatch police if I needed to. So I took it seriously.
All right. So what's going on here at 2 a.m.? And this is the night of the morning, the early morning of the murders.
Yeah, so the girls would have already left the grub truck after they ditched Jack Roger Showalter. I played the audio, for people too. I think people are back and forth whether or not they hear people calling Xana's name or Santa. I mean, there was a professional fight going on, but if you watch the grub truck footage, I think it's very obvious. You can see, I think his name is Joe. There's Joe and Hayden and a girl, whatever. You can see his phone for a few seconds. It sure is, doesn't look like a professional fight to me. It looks like he logged on to like Snapchat or something. But again, you can't see it that clear, but you can definitely get a feel that something's going on at that grub truck. And it sounds like they're saying Xana's name. And so I direct everyone to that 2 o'clock. Xana takes a picture with Jacqueline B. I find that to be very sketchy because I just don't think in my opinion, I don't think that's her. And I just don't think that's her. I think something has if something hasn't already happened to her, then it's going to within the next 15 minutes. But that timestamp on her phone doing something stands out to me because I just don't know if it's her or not.
Tell us this is color coded. I know you've got the what these are up at the top, which I'm not there right now. What are the colors? What do the colors mean?
Yellow is the grub truck stream. Blue, the teal is social media or text messages. And then the dark blue is Linda Lane parking. And then the green is the balcony porch cam. And if you see gray, that would be Linda Lane dumpster. So it kind of gives you a feel of what's going on at every single camera at that exact same time. And some of it is just very important. And some of it, it's nothing. It's a neighborhood cat saying hello, but it's on the timeline.
Tell me about this, because I've seen this, and I know as I looked through, I kind of scanned through this before. I got a few minutes before we went on. There's a lot of entries about active peeping Tom inside 1119.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first I've heard of an active peeping Tom.
Yeah, so inside the window. So I know people would reference that to outside. So that's why I have it written in there a good few times. It's inside the window of 1119. They're basically in that bottom window the entire time. And it is on the timeline when they finally stop being a peeping Tom. And it's very sketchy because it's like a minute before the Elantra that isn't BK's enters the area. So they are literally peeping Tom the entire time till like 4:06, whatever. It's on the timeline. It's crazy. They're in the window the entire time.
Wow.
Watching. And not to interrupt, but from when you're watching the balcony or porch cam, there are times I have it written on there too. I think someone's watching the window from 1119 right there too. I can hear someone coughing from time to time. It sends a chill up your spine when you're watching it, and you're not sure what's gonna happen. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's creepy. It's creepy. It's eerie.
I'll have to look at that video again.
Mm-hmm. And Nikki, I do like how you have the source next to it as well. I think that's comforting for people if they want to go look it up for themselves. We always say this is just our opinion, speculation, and you should always do your own homework. But I appreciate that you have the source there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so we're here at 2. We've got Xana taking a picture with Jacqueline up here. We've got some dog barking. What's the first really significant thing that you want to look at on this?
Well, after that song plays for the people at the grub truck, that Careless Whisper, that song is something about like a relationship and feeling guilty and they're never going to dance together again. And that plays. And that could have some little meaning there. It's around exactly at 2 a.m. People are weird about it. They like dance for like 5 seconds. It's just sketchy. But maybe like the 2:15 in the morning, there's a lot going on right there, especially with 2 victims' phones. You got Kaylee texting Jack D, come get your vape. And then you have Xana with the DoorDash order, Jack in the Box. My own opinion is that the girls don't have their phones right now. That's just me in my opinion, but you've got two things happening on two victims' phone at the exact same time. One's placing an order and one's texting Jack D to come get your vape. So I had gone down the theory that someone has the girls' phones at this time and the plan is in motion, just based on, again, everything I'm watching and further down in the timeline. It's like you go further, Ron, if you keep scrolling, 20 or 216, 219, 220, you hear people outside. What are they doing? Bethany stated she, her and Maddie brought Murphy outside. I theorized she did her job by getting Maddie outside. You've got car movement on, then you've got the oh my gosh, and then you have the, further down, you're getting into the really dark 225, and this is where it just gets really dark and it's hard to listen to. But I did my best to really write it as I heard it, so that way it flows. But that's just everything, I heard. But, I think a lot of people who have listened or caught up with the case kind of know the 226 and 227 scream, along with, I think, 240, 242 in the morning too. But I think that the attack on Kaylee and Maddie is happening at this time. And I think the one with Ethan comes at about 240, whenever the next part comes. But
okay, so this you think is Kaylee and Maddie. So
yeah,
that's all these are from the 11-12 camera.
correct. The balcony is the green. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some as I went, you could tell, like right below the green, you can see like the blue says Linda Lane parking or Linda Lane dumpster at the end. Yeah. Just in that case, like if you were scrolling, so the reader could keep kind of an eye on it, but it gets long.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have that 17-minute phone call, and I don't know if anyone has the exact timestamp on that, because that timestamp would play a huge role in everything else that's going on at 2:26 in the morning. Especially with re-listening to audio again and again and again. And it sounds like somebody's begging for their phone back. And around the 2:43, I think, is when the 17-minute would be up. 2:43, 2:44. It sounds like someone on the audio is saying my effing phone. So it's very eerie. Why can we hear people, in my opinion, talking about a phone, begging for a phone back, when we have a 17-minute phone call that Jack D can't recall?
Yeah, that's a big red flag for me as well.
And he lied about, why lie about it if there's not an issue?
In his interview, there could have been so many more follow-up questions or just pushback on him.
Yeah, and even in his third interview, he was, even with the attorney by his side, he was still saying he was home, shut his door by 1:20, and that's not true. He is absolutely still at the corner club. So how can we, the whole playing the role of like, I'm intoxicated, scale 8 to 10, it's just such a BS thing at this point, because there's no proof, and that's just, I feel like, what everyone's kind of falling down on, or at least they're trying to. But if you think about it, he's not home at 1:20. He's home about 2:05. That call comes in 10-15 minutes later. I have a hard time buying that he didn't remember it or fell asleep, especially when he also told the interviewer he was up for like 20 minutes with his roommate. So sorry, Jack, that basically puts you up exactly at the time of the phone call based on his own words.
So he's definitely on your watch close list.
Oh, he's at the top.
What'd you tell me? Nine toes in?
9 toes down with 1 toe left for a surprise guest for, like, K-Bar Charlie or Mason or something like that. We don't get naive that there aren't other sketchy people, or Kaylee was hooking up with people. That's fine. But there's a lot going on with Jack D, in my opinion.
I agree. All right, Ron, take us next.
Well, we're now into the 230, 232, 233. Looks like there's a lot of comments that you've been able to pull from that.
Yeah, and this is where, like myself, like I go back and forth. Has something already happened to Xana? Because the 2 o'clock, the people shouting her name, and then what's going on right here is Xana already home and something's happened to her? Now Ethan has been, is returning home, because we got that vehicle going on. It sounds like, the people in the house know someone's coming back. If I keep going, at like 2:41 in the morning, after David B will Venmo Jaden Bennett shots times like 20. We have that terrible scream at 2:40. at 2:41, I mean, clear as day, if with the audio, I can hear someone say, kicking the door down. And I remember Steve G referencing something to Hunter Johnson having to kick the door down, which doesn't make sense. There was no door for him to kick down when he entered the King Roadhouse. And, you know, he entered his passcode to the front door. So what is he talking about? But Steve G did reference, you know, Hunter Johnson having to kick the door down. And I just find it eerie that you could hear somebody clear as day, in my opinion, say, kicking the door down. And then in my opinion, I think it paints a picture that the attack on Ethan is about to start.
Now, when you're putting these quotes, are these your opinions of when you're listening to the audio? Is that
yeah?
Because I know we've all seen a lot of audio out there, and sometimes it can be really tricky. So, okay, so these are. I just want to make sure these were yours. Okay.
Yep. And then I wish I would have put it in there at the time, but when I hear Quinn, there are some times I definitely feel like you can hear the Quinn clear as day. But now that I look at other people's names, I brought this up to my, you know, TikTok community. I'm like, is it possible that's Gideon and it's being said really quick? Or I think Trent's last name was Gwynn, like Gwinn. And I'm just wondering, is it possible if we're not hearing Quinn, is it Gwyn? So that's something I, you know, probably would have put like a slash that it could be that name being heard as well too. But that's, I think, a last name of a frat boy.
Well, what we can see by your timeline is there's a lot going on at once.
Yeah.
Literally by the minute.
Yeah.
When you put it all together like this, it actually does paint a different picture.
Yeah. Oh, it does. And I, with respect, I know it's so long, but when you truly, I truly ask everyone to sit down and look at it, because it takes you through exactly what's going on. And I put it in there exactly where I want the reader to focus on the vehicles moving around. I think not only is the call coming from inside the house, I think the vehicles belong to the neighborhood, right there. But, you know, again, that's for other people to watch too, but they have something to look at and read. And I think that with that, they'll go back and watch it is hopefully the goal too. And then that 248, you know, I know that this has been circulating online too. It looks like a flash. Is that a gun going off? And that's not, I think, the only time. I think it's maybe further up in the timeline as well, too, that it looks like something could be going off as far as a gun or something at that time.
Yeah, that's an interesting video.
Yeah, because I think Outcast did a video, and Only Available Not Available made one too about that specific time.
Yeah, and the version that we got from the drop. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ron, what do you think about that? Do you think there was possibly a weapon other than a knife used? Do you think there was potentially a gun used?
I haven't seen any physical evidence of it. I know I've gone through the autopsy report. I've seen what I can of the evidence in the crime scene. I haven't seen any evidence. Nobody noted any bullet type wounds in any of the victims. Didn't see any reference to finding a bullet in a wall or furniture or anything.
Did you think it was interesting in the book? I don't know if you read it, Ron, but The Broken Plea, I know Whitcomb references something to it. I don't have the chapter exactly memorized, but he has it written down when they find blood inside Jack D's apartment. He has it written a specific way that it was bullet-like drops of blood that was found. And I had someone reach out to me. Now, again, this is just somebody who deals with warrants. And again, I encourage people to do their own research. But she had said that typically that verbiage isn't used unless there would be a weapon of that kind, again, used. But we have no we have no confirmation of that. But that was just one thing I remembered from the book, that he calls it out, like there were bullet-like drops of blood found on the floor or whatever, Jack D's apartment. So, but yeah, there's been nothing else, obviously.
You know, everything is going to have an explanation.
Yeah.
Everything, you know, the flashes that we're seeing, what Dylan reports or Bethany is the sparkler or the spark or the firecracker. There's going to be an explanation for all that. We just haven't gotten there. Why have there been references to guns? It could be as simple as somebody speculated and it got told as a story and it got repeated as a story. It could be as simple as it's, somebody's inexperienced at reading blood evidence, but it could be there was a gun.
But Ron, what about this comment? I keep trying to put it up, but it keeps getting taken down. But what about a gun used to control people?
Ooh.
That could be
a warning shot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, or even just the presence of a gun.
Yeah, that's actually very smart.
And what do you think about the possibility of maybe like a like a beanbag gun, what they use in prisons when there's like a riot?
I
I
don't
think
know.
about that, Ron, just because the injuries to Kaylee's face.
Yeah, that I don't know, and I just don't know. I certainly would believe a gun was at least with somebody. I mean, honestly, let's say you're Brian Kober, or let's say you're the killer, whoever that is, and you're planning this, and that you're going to a house where 6 people live, more or less. Why are you only going to take a knife?
Right.
And this is Idaho. Idaho is a big gun state. I guarantee you can find a handgun somewhere there.
Yeah.
Why would you go to do this, even if you don't want to necessarily use it because it's so loud? Why would you not take it just in case?
Yeah.
Why would you go only with one hunting knife?
Right. Makes no sense.
I agree.
And then something that I found interesting too is that Josie, being out at her car at 3 a.m. and then exactly at 3:01 and 50 seconds, a car beeps twice very loud from the Linda Lane dumpster. And something I just wonder, is that Josie? Like, some things really do fit and match up exactly how they're supposed to, or it makes you question, is that the person based on their statement? So you've got Josie going to her car at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have Hunter Johnson locking the door after she gets back inside because something felt off, or maybe he just got home. I don't know. And then, at 3:01:50, a car beeps twice, within a minute of Josie saying she went to her car. So why would I not assume that's Josie? Who else is out there at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Okay, now you have to like do the voice that you do when you talk about Josie on TikTok. Come on, you got to do it for us.
Stop, Josie. No, when I say sketchy.
Yes. Because Josie is everywhere, always. It's very bizarre. She's got a face in every documentary. I'm sure she's in the ones that are coming out. She just she's interesting. I'll leave it there.
She's very sketchy. And I think I actually sent you the picture of the book where it said that Josie called dibs on both the twins. and one night in Idaho, she gave me the vibe. She even says it on there. And I think she gets all red in the face. She goes, "Oh, the twins are on campus. They're so hot," and then you find a different source somewhere else and you just get more information on one person. And that's where I feel like everything, comes and ties together. So I had always kind of assumed that maybe Josie had some jealousy towards Xana or whatever, because she wanted not only one twin, but she wanted both of them. And it appears she didn't get either of them. And unfortunately for some women at a young age, they just can't control their emotions. And I think we're looking, in my opinion, at a lot of young females who can't control their emotions, and a lot of people get, going back and forth, I guess.
And Sam, would you say, I know we've talked about this, the three of us too, and even you and I, Nikki, is there was a lot of emotions going on within that King Road house, and not just with the roommates, with the people that were close friends or went over there to party. I think there's a lot about those relationships, hookups, jealousy, resentment. I think there's a very interesting dynamic to all of that we just haven't quite been disclosed of.
Yeah, I think it just kind of, relationships and interpersonal relationships are part of the story, and you need to understand the context. It's just like when we're in court, if you have a text message and it's a partial message, you need the whole story. So I think it's really hard for me to exclude those portions as not relevant. I think that they're important. and we have to figure out how they tie into it. But I don't think that you can discount that being important. It's easy to just try to ignore it, but the reality is there's so much there, and there were so many interpersonal relationships. There's a lot that we don't understand. There's a lot of communication. I'm still very curious after the crime occurred. Obviously, everyone was talking to each other, but I just wish there was a better timeline on that. I mean, no one's really asking those questions when they're interviewing people. No one's asking, who have you talked to first? Who? Let me see your group message regarding the theories that are around town. I mean, well, I think we can all really speculate based on what has been said by a lot of these adults. I'm going to call it, young adults, but adults in these interviews, that they're all talking to each other. And so my question is, who's saying what and when? And I think that all really matters, because a lot of these individuals are saying or pointing in a particular direction. And I do think the social aspect played a huge role in it.
I agree. And something that I never knew before until, again, I had read the updated, I guess, with all new reporting, the Idaho 4 from James and Vicky. Again, I guess there was one whether they updated it or added more to the book, but I thought in the beginning it did a good job explaining the Greek life, something that I don't know much about, but how we're talking about how these relationships tie into each other. I think they absolutely do. And in the book, it made it sound like Ethan asked Xana to be his big, and that was something I never knew before. And I think I sent that to Kristen because I was like, I didn't know this. And I said, and how it describes it in the book is that it's acceptable as long as they're not in the same house, I guess. And so if that is true, and that's true reporting from James and Vicky, I think it paints a picture that maybe Ethan and Xana broke some rules, and maybe there were some people who were very upset with that.
Yeah, I was even in a sorority for 2 years, my last 2 years of college, and I didn't know that existed. Now, I wasn't super active in the sorority, so that's not a shock that I didn't know that if that was a thing. But that was new to me as well. I thought that was bizarre.
Yeah, I read it. I didn't put it on here, obviously, but usually I like to have page numbers and things like that so people can look right at it. But I had read it to the TikTok community as we went through the book, and I think everyone kind of thought that was interesting because nothing I had ever heard before. So.
Yeah, and do you guys recall, I think it was Dr. Turvey's interview, one of the first things he said was, we still don't know to this day who exactly was in that house at what time from the 24 hours prior to or following. He makes that pretty distinct, question to all of us. And it's like, wow, you are right. He said it was never disclosed to us. And if we have these questionable relationships and, we don't really know exactly who might be hooking up with who or who's cheating with who or who's really good friends, but they don't want other people to know or whatever. It seems like there was a lot of secret stuff going on. It doesn't look like they were really that good friends with all of them as a whole, as it appeared on their social media. But yeah, I don't think we know exactly who was in that house.
Yeah, and I do have something in respect to him making a comment like that on the very end of the timeline, just saying that out of between 4 a.m. however many interviews they had with the girls, they still couldn't confirm exactly where they are. And I think people really need to know that. But just where we're at in the timeline, this is where I also caution the reader just to really pay attention to the vehicles that are moving around at this time. I think it's very possible the vehicles are all within next to the King Roadhouse. We have 3 different cameras. It sounds like people are outside. Sounds like people are getting into their car, and this is all before that 3:30 car is supposed to enter the area that does not belong to Brian Koberger. So this is where I really ask people to, later look at that, read that. I think it very much is telling a story that this is happening within steps away, parking lots that are just all right there. And then it keeps going, and then till where, Dylan Mortensen adding the contact in her phone. You've got Molly walking around at the exact same time. You've got Emily Venmoing Xana $14. We've got vehicle movement at that same time, whether it be Molly or another vehicle. I noted it at 3:56 in the morning because I feel like Mr. Whitcomb does things on purpose. And as a writer, I really just like to try to think I pick up on these things. But I thought he put that 12-second Snapchat in that book for a reason too. And I think as more information comes back, I think maybe that's very important. But with the 356, Whitcomb puts it in the book, and he says vehicle. And I just think it should be highlighted that he's putting vehicle. He's not putting Elantra. He's not putting, this or that. I think it's very much I think it's there for a reason that it says vehicle is seen on the video from 1122, not the Elantra. My own opinion.
No, I think that's a good point to bring up.
But then you have all this, activity with the car leaving and coming and going.
Hold on, Nikki, what time are we at exactly now?
We're exactly where you are.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah. Emily saying this is about the time Emily and them would be going back to sleep or something like that. It does change. But in her interview, we woke up about 3 or whatever time she woke up. And then Josie woke up about 3. They were up for another hour. So it puts them at about 4 o'clock in the morning. They're still awake at this time. David B. on One Night in Idaho, if people have watched that, you're going to hear him state that he left the area right around 4 o'clock in the morning because something felt weird. Then I put in the
That's an interesting comment, too.
It is.
Especially after the fact, after a murder.
Yeah.
Did he really? Is he, that sounds like a after created narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's there. I think it earned a spot on the timeline for a reason. The 4 to 420, that's just the state's narrative of what Kaylee heard, or that's what Dylan said she heard. We've got the vehicle, we've got Molly moving around the Elantra, which is not Brian Koberger's Elantra. The vehicle is seen driving around. We're at 405. Yeah, exactly where you were at. And yeah, again, I caution everyone to just watch what's going on with this vehicle. At the 405, 406, 407, and according to the state, around 408 is really when this should start, or around this time. I again encourage everyone to look at what's going on. I don't hear any screams. If you guys go listen to it, I don't know if anyone else hears any screams. We've got just one thud from 4 people who were not asleep, or not all of them were asleep, but just one thud. I just don't, I think Holland is the one in your interview who maybe explained it best, where you might scream before you get attacked, but not necessarily during the entire attack. And I feel like that does make sense. But there's just not enough for me for 4 of them, especially Xana, who put up a hell of a fight, according to Turvey, one that he's never seen throughout his entire career. How am I supposed to believe she's not making one sound? Like, not one, even if she's not screaming, but something, for someone putting up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I have an issue with the lack. I mean, yeah, we've all heard some screams and stuff on the video, but there would be, with the attacks that were going on, there should have been a lot more noise than what's been reported, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think, again,
I'd be yelling. I'd be screaming if someone was attacking me with a knife.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, just to alert people around me, hey, come help me. Someone's attacking me with a knife.
Absolutely. Screaming
now,
for
that's
help.
if it was one person. If someone if somebody else was involved and had my mouth covered or something, then I wouldn't be screaming, of course.
Right. And, you've got Dylan Mortensen in her statement saying she was calling out for Kaylee's name or Xana's name, whatever. You don't hear that at all. She says she was screaming their names. Well, I don't think anybody hears that. Now, again, people would argue, how loud is she screaming? Well, if you can hear a sliding door being shut and open, maybe you'd hear her. But, that's what she says she's doing. And what I brought up too with, Murphy starting barking around the 4:16 and 51 mark right there. He basically barks until 4:50. And there's no text messages exchanged between Dylan and Bethany regarding the dog that won't stop barking. Nothing to Kaylee like, hey, can you shut your dog up? Hey, bring your dog inside where you get a noise complaint. Hey, what's going on with Murphy? There's just nothing for a dog that won't stop barking for, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
No, it's a great point. It's a great point, Nikki.
Yeah, and then right there, as you guys will see, I put in whether it be the state's narrative or the exact court documents, whatever it is, and then just how it was changed from Ethan to Xana. for who that should be. And then Holland, based on your interview, him saying that one of the unalivers is still in the house 45 minutes to an hour after. So I want people to pay attention to that and look at everything that's happening while one of the unalivers is still in the house, and the movement that happens when they should be out of the house, because we've got cars moving. So it's very much a picture right there.
So what time do you think that law enforcement got to that house on the 13th?
Yeah, I know that there are, I think, questions, or I've seen things myself about that being off here or there, but it's I don't know how much. I mean, I have some in there from Nunez's body cam, and I don't know, and the porch balcony cam too. So unless, I don't know, everything seemed to flow for right now, but I have seen what people are talking about, whether it would be off however long. I guess just while I'm doing my minute by minute, second by second timeline, I haven't found, at least not yet, that I was, questioning that area, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chris had shared with us that they were there or at least in his opinion, his research, that law enforcement absolutely knew about it. And I think that they were already at the house, give or take, about 11 a.m. Obviously that's just, opinion, speculation, go do your own research, but yeah.
Wow.
I think that was interesting.
That is interesting, because around 11 o'clock in the morning, not to, speed up the process, but there's a lot going on at 11 o'clock in the morning. But just
a busy morning for it being quiet. It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So all this stuff with Bethany and Dylan are calling and texting and all this. And meanwhile, I see Murphy's barking.
Mm-hmm.
They then allegedly go to sleep while Murphy's barking. I mean, you're calling, no one's answering. Where is everybody? Oh, I hear Murphy. I think I'll go to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And I highlighted it too. Also, it'll be further down in the timeline, Dylan's exact statements. Whitcomb says it's very important to listen to her exact words. And while I write them down and look at the timeline, I can't help but agree that they are very, very important. And I think Dylan just does a really good job of accidentally telling on herself. It's further down in the timeline. You'll see it. It's her exact words based on the court body cam, whatever. Yeah. But she never, when she's talking, she never mentions that phone call that Bethany made to her. And so I think that original phone call that Bethany made to her was a fuck up. And it wasn't originally in her story that she gives. So I think that I highlighted it right there. I think it's at the 424 where we are, but I think people should pay attention to the fact that Bethany is the one to call Dylan. And I think that was a fuck up, and it wasn't supposed to be a part of the narrative. And that's why Dylan doesn't say it.
That's up here, right here.
Yeah.
For 1907.
Yeah. I think that was a fuck up. And that wasn't supposed to be Bethany to Dylan. I think it was supposed to be either Dylan to Bethany or just nothing at that time. But I think that was a fuck up.
Yeah.
A fuck up by law enforcement. No way.
But and then you see, the girls try to desperately reach their friends once or twice with those new documents saying, here's some answered calls, here's some whatever. Again, I thought it was a couple weeks ago when I just really started paying attention to that 12-second Snapchat duration, really because it was in the timeline with Whitcomb and the documents too. But I don't know if that really clarified Snapchat for a while. But I just thought that's so sketchy. And then to have that information come back answered, it would really be beneficial if we had the other victim's phone to really confirm if it was answered, if someone declined it or hung up. But I think all of those phone calls, tell a story too.
Mm-hmm.
During their staging of the crime scene, somebody fucked up at their only job. I don't know whether they didn't realize people were going to look into this as much as they did, but you've got three options. Dylan or Bethany either hung up the phone after 7 seconds because they're such good friends, or someone declined those phone calls, or somebody answered those phone calls. So 1, 2, or 3, take your pick. I don't think there's another option. So, I mean, to desperately say you're calling your friends and let it ring for 3 seconds. I mean, not sure if it's voicemail or not, but you've got 12 seconds, you've got 19 seconds. Those should absolutely be questioned.
Here's a good question that we can actually ask all three of you. What do you think, Ron? Look at the question on the screen. This is a good question that was in the chat.
Oh, does anybody know if the college was called before the cops that morning? Has anyone seen anyone from the college showing up before the cops that morning?
I don't think I heard anything about that, but I mean, if there's rumors of the police being there at 11, I would assume that the university was probably informed right after that, if that was the case. Just, guessing.
Yeah, considering how quickly they put out the press release of the homicides, my guess is they knew around the same time, if not before, but that is all probably very hush-hush.
And we'll get there too, but it was yesterday/today that I was going through, I think 11 to 12. It is stupid busy. I mean, I think I was starting to write paragraphs for what was happening outside. And I'm not joking. There was stuff happening over here. There's stuff happening over here. What is going on? And the door is open to the King Roadhouse. You've got everybody outside putting stuff in their cars. It does not look good at all. It's terrible.
It is wild when you put all that together in one picture.
Oh yeah, and I made sure to do it because I think for me and how I look at things, I think someone else is going to look through this timeline and appreciate it and read it, and who knows if someone can just put it together in their mind and be like, so this, I mean, I think it's already right there in my opinion, with the car moving around and the friends and their movements and everybody moving before that officer arrives at noon. I just think it's there.
What do you think, Sam? You think it's possible the university knew before law enforcement?
I think it's hard to exclude anything because it just sounds like everyone knew a lot before the 911 call. There's just such a large gap of time and so many moving parts and that's just my continued question is who's talked to who before 911 and after 911. So I think it's really, really hard to exclude anything like that. I don't think that's far-fetched.
And I think that was just a problem too. And I think it's down on the timeline too. I wanted to note it, but nobody was separated or detained. You have Dylan Mortensen giving her statement. You got Jack D in the cop car right behind her. You got everyone right there. She's talking to Jack D before they even, put him in the cop car, and she's explaining it in front of everybody. I mean,
that is wild.
I think that there was I saw it again recently. There was a portion where someone overheard that she couldn't spell a last name and was spelling it for her. I'm so everyone's just listening to everything, literally.
I think it was Emily Johnson that helped spell the name. So they're sitting right there.
Yeah, and how long was Jack DeCourt even in that cop car? I heard it was less than 10 minutes, and it was more just put in there for a minute. I don't know that necessarily he was quote unquote in custody, or he was really being detained. I think it was just go sit there for a second. But don't you think they would have done that with Hunter Johnson as well, since he had a knife in his hand when they walked in the house?
Oh yeah, I made sure that that's on the timeline, and I highlighted exactly when the officers turned their backs with a knife on the beer pong table. Those things are they're stupid. But as far as Jack D, no, he was not detained. The officer asked him if he wanted to sit in the nice warm cop car.
Yeah.
And Jack said, okay. So that's on there too.
Can I have some water?
Yeah. The audacity. Oh.
You want some heater water? You want a blanket?
Oh my.
So you've got some notes on here from the new document drop. This confirms this was answered. So this Dylan's call to Ethan was answered at 4:24:39.
Yeah, and I did my research as best as I could on that because again, we don't have Ethan's phone to, I feel truly confirm if it was answered or somehow they're just pinging it to the network and it's connected. Regardless, anything that has a time duration would be proving that it's connecting to the network at that time. But I just wanted to make it clear to my viewers that I did as much research as I can. I don't think we can confirm that without, that additional information. But either way, you've got a couple options there. And I don't know if you saw it in the transcripts. Dylan talks really fast in her interviews, but when the transcripts came out about a month or so ago, it caught my eye because she she's talking, and in her interview, as she talks so fast, they don't know if people catch it or not. And it could be absolutely nothing. But when she's talking about this Snapchat call, this specific Snapchat call with Ethan, she's looking through her phone. She can't find the phone or the timestamp for the call when the officer is asking her to do so. And as she's going through her app, she says out loud, when she can't find the timestamp, it says Sunday, Ethan couldn't talk. So I thought that sounds like some sort of notification from the app. So I did as much research as anybody else could do. It really came back that it could have possibly been manually declined on Ethan's end, and Ethan had set up an action on his phone that if you were to decline it, it would send like an automated generated message back saying I couldn't talk or whatever the case is. And the person who declined it maybe didn't know that, sent a message back. This also might sound weird, but I played it for my TikTok community because I thought the response was beyond weird. But I think it ties into this. If there's something there, it could very well be nothing. But Stacey Chapin does an interview with Jim Chapin, and this is before whatever they didn't attend. There was something else before that they did attend, and she does see Brian Koberger, and they ask her on this interview, what was it like to see Brian Koberger in person or whatever? And Stacey Chapin, dead ass serious, says he's like cold and calculated, like an automated phone message. And I was like, what? I was like, who says that about how they're seeing their child's murderer for the first time? An automated phone message? It blew me away, and I played it for everybody who was watching me too so they could hear it. It's on YouTube. The interview's out there. I just thought that's a really sketchy response. It could mean nothing, but I just think it's possible that 12-second Snapchat could have been manually declined and it sent some sort of notification back or answered. But it was what I thought was interesting. It's in the transcripts. It wasn't something I knew that I heard before those came out about a month ago.
Those transcripts were quite enlightening, weren't they?
They were, and there could be something there that could have been a system notification. So if they would have just let the Snapchat call ring out, it would have been 30 to 45 seconds. They didn't do that. So a human action was done. So.
Yeah, and another thing that was interesting with those transcripts is if you go back and watch Nunez's body cam, specifically when he's talking with DM, from what the conversation they're having to what gets put in his report is not completely aligned. There's inferences being made, or maybe just, changing words here and there, which obviously, with the butterfly effect that Chris talks about, that situation and the evidence and the facts, it just kept changing a little bit. Then you go to the transcripts and you're like, whoa, like I think those transcripts exposed Dylan to another level that she was very likely withholding information at a minimum.
I think so too. And I think it also exposed Nunez because he wrote in his report that they went and checked the house right away. And that's simply not the case. We can go back and watch his body cam, and that's not at all what happened. In fact, they walk out casually and Officer Warner hangs out with his homeboy for a few seconds. It's on the timeline, the exact timestamp. And Nunez walks out of the house. There's no urgency to check the house for, let alone any intruder, but a survivor. It blows my mind that he wrote in his report, it's there that he checked the house. Like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And I think Whitcomb put it in his book very well that I think the last 3 years or 2 years that the world was going based off of Nunez's report. And
there's a ton of problems with that report.
Exactly. That's an issue.
It's filled and littered with assumptions, not based on actual evidence.
Exactly. He's got victims' names wrong. That's embarrassing. He should be embarrassed that he's got Kaylee and Xana confused on his report when she's clear as day telling him what name. So embarrassing.
Yep. I think that's a big part of where a lot of the problems start, because then look at every report that was created or that came subsequent to his report that already, it's kind of like the game of telephone.
Yep.
And Chris does give him a little bit of leniency, saying he was fairly new to the law enforcement. And, but, I think Sam and I talk about it, it's like, okay, so if I'm just, new and I go into court and someone's paying me a lot of money and I just commit malpractice, we're just going to chalk it up to the fact that I would be a new attorney. That's just not the way life works.
Yeah. And I mean, Nunez had 5 years previous experience with fire and rescue. So surely with all the shit going on in Moscow in the last 5 years, I'm sure fire and rescue was called once or twice. So you would think he would actually know how to handle some situations just fine. But that's my own opinion.
Yeah, Sam, weren't they putting up the caution tape? I think they were putting up the caution tape before they had even cleared the house.
Oh yeah. And Ava also walks over before the caution tape, and I made sure to put that in there. I know we're jumping around, but I think it's very important because Ava puts herself on the TV, says that when she saw the caution tape go up, she started walking over. Well, the body cam tells a very different story. It seems like she's already outside, and she will insert herself and walk across the street. And Nunez is at his car at that time, and he doesn't even tell her to get away from the crime scene yet. What are you doing? And then he casually starts putting the caution tape up. And then that's when he tells them, can you guys get to the dumpster? But yeah.
Ron, do you think the potential, like the fact that the integrity of the crime scene was disturbed so early on, is there anything in there that would be helpful for any PCR or appellate issues?
With the crime scene being disturbed?
Yeah, just how contaminated it was almost from the get-go.
Well, really, for the post-conviction relief and appellate stuff, you got to look at what was known before the plea was made.
Yeah.
And so I don't know necessarily that just having, some disturbance, unless the law enforcement hid it or concealed it somehow. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to get you anywhere with any post-conviction relief, except if, potentially defense attorney didn't do something with it that she should have. Then are we getting into an ineffective assistance of counsel argument potentially?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I think is interesting, especially when you see it in the timeline. Because according to Dylan, she went to sleep at 4:00 after she saw the masked man in her house, which again, I can't imagine going to sleep a few minutes after seeing an unknown masked man in my house.
Me either, and the dog barking.
But 5 a.m., she's traveling 30 feet, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the thing with DM is it's just such a struggle for me because I feel like whether you want to say that you believe she was telling the truth or not, to me is somewhat irrelevant because you would come to the same conclusion that she's not credible either way. If you believe what she says she doesn't know if it was a dream. So even if you call her credible there, she's telling you she can't report it. And if you look at the transcripts and the inconsistencies, I think a lot of people, including myself, just believe it's straight up inconsistent. But either way, there's a credibility issue. So to me, it's just not a viable witness.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well said, Sam.
As I understand, this comes from her watch, right?
I think it's leaning towards that way with how it was put. Yeah, and I put that at the very end of the timeline too, so people can kind of get that feel that movement is more than likely her Apple Watch. And that's, it moves a few times. It's not just at 5 o'clock. I want to say 8 or 9 or 9 and 10. But, and it's also moving again at 11. And I think that is something people really need to focus on, because not only is it saying she's distance traveled however long at 11, you've got the front door to the King Roadhouse open. You've got whoever, Justin walking this and that. You've got Trenton, Ryan, I think from their interview, knowing someone's unresponsive. You have so much going on at 11 o'clock in the morning. Why is her Apple Watch or her phone moving around a house that she should not be moving around a house in, Or let alone maybe that much, because I think based on the steps, I don't think anyone could argue. If you do the research, I think at 11 o'clock. I looked into it as best as I could, but, you can get the exact of how many steps that would be, and I think it's thousands. So it doesn't paint the picture of someone pacing back and forth for 5 minutes. It definitely paints the picture of someone moving more than just pacing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not only is she moving at 5 a.m. when she told police she was asleep, she is creating images, modifying images, deleting images, creating images again, modifying, creating, modifying. I mean, she's on her phone doing stuff with pictures.
Yep.
What is she taking pictures of when she's asleep?
I don't know. It's so interesting because it is creates an image. It's not, she just modifies one like she was just on her phone and is editing or modifying a picture from earlier. You know what I mean? She's creating something. So what did she do? What did she take a picture of? Like you said, she's supposed to be sleeping.
Definitely.
Well, she had so many different versions of her story. It's hard to keep up at what point she was sleeping, at what point she wasn't. But
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah, she's not credible by any sense of the word.
So I just want to give Outcast a quick shout out because thank you. You are just hitting us with a lot of love over here. So thank you, Outcast.
Outcast, perfect timing.
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Outcast, perfect timing. We're actually right on the screen. I just got done watching one of Outcast's recent videos for the 6 o'clock timeline, and that right there in green is from one of his most recent videos. So encourage everyone to go listen to that. I did not have that on my timeline up until last night or something like that. So what people do and create and put out there for myself to listen to, or anybody else who's doing a timeline, it's very important. Everybody is so important, and shout out to Outcast. He came on the screen at the perfect time. So that was something I added in there just from this video.
I don't think I've listened to the 11:12 video. That's what this light green is, right? 11:12.
Yeah, like that bright green. Yep, that's the porch or balcony cam 1-1.
I don't think I've listened to that. How clear are these statements on that?
For that one, I would say it was definitely a little harder to hear. So I would definitely, versus like the raw footage. But the thing is, I've watched so many. I feel like when you're watching raw footage and then maybe someone who, I don't know if they're just turning the volume up, if you want to say. But what I did with Outcast with that specific time is I put his video on the screen. He had some of the words up. Then I went to the raw footage, turned it all the way up. And then I put his video down and, listening to it. And I'm like, okay, I can either hear what he's saying. I either agree with some, I don't agree with, whatever. I put on, I think most of what I think he thought he heard, I was hearing the same. But it does take effort to kind of almost look at two different things, something that maybe has the volume turned up or, raw footage. But I did hear some of that on the raw footage as well. So shout out to Outcast for putting that video out there and bringing that timestamp to anybody's attention, because it wasn't something I had on there.
Yeah, that's where the three of us get all of our audio as well. It's hard not to get sucked in with there's a lot of really, really, really good creators, but it's hard not to get sucked in when you're like, oh, you want to hear something, right? And so you keep listening to it and you convince yourself that's what you hear. But it's really important to Nikki, how many times have you listened to that audio? Probably 100?
I can't. So many times in like the 225 to 227 till 242. I listened to it so many times just to, again, get the flow of the conversation as best as I could. But I think it's very important that people listen to it themselves. It's great if the words are on the screen, but I absolutely encourage them to either, put the words down so they don't see it, or then go listen to the raw footage and then see what you can and can't hear, because I could definitely hear some of it.
So Kristen, what do you think about this comment from Coco? In my opinion, BF calling Ethan's phone and it picked up is exculpatory and makes sense why she would only have it.
Well, is that the exculpatory evidence that Bethany has rumored to have been in possession of or to have knowledge of from the very, very beginning? I don't know. Nikki, what do you think?
I was just trying to look. I know it's somewhere on the timeline. Maybe it's 2:30. I thought it was around 3:30, but there is an interesting time. Maybe it's 2:30. There's an interesting spot in the timeline where Bethany's on her phone where a bunch of shit is going down in the audio. And I always just wondered if she had something on her phone.
Right here.
Right there, 2:31. There's stuff going on and she's active on her phone. So sometimes I wonder about that too. Does she have something right there that's exculpatory evidence? Because that's, next to some taunting audio.
Sam, what do you think? Because that was a pretty big, interesting piece of information that we got in the last dump.
I mean, if Ethan is apparently answering his phone after being deceased, that's certainly problematic to a timeline.
Especially because Yeah, and their phones were switched around. So Ethan's phone wasn't even next to him; it was next to Xana, and Xana had
Right.
Xana had one hand where her fingers were almost severed. So how would she really answer the phone?
Right.
So,
And Sam, you actually asked Ray that exact question, and I thought you said it perfectly. And if I can remember off the top of my head, he didn't really answer it directly. I think he told us to not take any of the cell data or health data too seriously until we get more information, or something along that line, which it seemed like it was, I'm going to avoid and divert answering that question.
And I thought it was interesting because he's supposed to be a phone guy and talking about, this and that, but hey, I feel like he tried to stir us away from timestamps and how they could be inaccurate, and brought up a case of where things are off for 2 or 3 hours. What are you don't even bring that shit up to me, sir. What are you talking about? But like you said, I think it was him deflecting in a professional way, I guess.
Okay, really quick, this comment, Ron. What do you think about poor Dylan? Because I think, Sam, when we heard you and Ron, when we heard Sai say that for the first time, I think we all looked at each other, and I was just like, "Thank gosh, I just got Botox a week ago because it won't show how bad my WTF face is." But Sam, what did you think of that?
I'll let Ron.
Ron, what did you think? Poor Dylan on repeat.
Ray knows phones and cell towers and data and everything. I've been dealing with witnesses for 30 years. She is very suspect to me. And I'm having a hard time accepting that she was completely innocent in this. It's inconsistent.
Ron, make sure we're super clear that we are not saying that DM committed this crime. We are just speculating, talking about our opinions.
Yeah, she's sketchy.
Her story is inconsistent with the data, and stories can change, and stories are they're a story. They can be real, they can be based on real events, they can be completely made up. The data is kind of what the data is. That's what these are designed to do, is to record events as objectively as possible. So when I hear Dylan saying that she was asleep from 4 a.m. until almost 12, but her phone is creating images and modifying and creating and doing all this stuff and moving around, then is there a potential explanation that is consistent with her being asleep? Yeah, somebody else has her phone or her Apple Watch or whatever, but then she never explained that. Now, my question on these is, if she's creating images, didn't she voluntarily hand over her phone to investigators at some point during this?
I do believe so. And I think if one could argue too that like one's her Apple Watch and one's her phone, I mean, that's fine at the end of the day, because her phone is still proving that she's, like you said, creating images, doing this and that. So regardless of it being the Apple Watch or the phone, it proves that she is active on her phone almost the entire time. So it's hard to argue with phone data.
Did they ever look to see what these images may have been? Or did they look at the pictures and stuff on her phone?
I bet it's in the drop, but I don't know if that will be anything we'll ever have access to, but I'm sure it's in the files that they have. That's just my own opinion. With how big, terabytes or whatever the word is that you say, I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
I agree, man. Snapchat tells a whole different story, presumptively.
And I
would love to have all of that Snapchat.
Yeah, and I don't know if these pictures that she's creating or editing are even on Snapchat at this point, the 519, that could very well just be a picture taken on her regular phone. So therefore, it should never be deleted. But the Snapchats, for sure, I think there's people who argue how many years you can have it. But if someone were to even just take a screenshot of a Snapchat, now that's saved in your phone. Now it's there forever. But But just to clarify, I don't know, and I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't know if the 517, 519, I don't know if those are Snapchat pictures. I think that they are just like a picture she took on her phone, but I guess I can't really verify that. I don't know, maybe the phone records would verify that. I don't think it's Snapchat.
Here's another mention of a dark colored SUV that we keep seeing back and forth. And that's never been identified, has there? Do we know what cars some of the people associated with this have?
I think just watching it, you get pretty close. Some of them you don't ever see where they go, though, because they pass the balcony cam and you eventually don't see them. But it appears they all live within the neighborhood. But right in front of 1112, you have a lot of people coming and going. And next to that house, people are coming and going the entire hour like from 11 to 12. But yeah, that dark colored SUV, it's almost like I think a box SUV, if I'm trying to imagine it right. I could be wrong, but it's definitely like an SUV type. You see it more than a few times. You also see like a reddish brownish SUV type thing too. I think it's like to the neighbor's house. I think they helped load a tote around 1106 or 1109. It's like the more you watch it, the more you start to understand, okay, these people are here, they're over here, because it's starting to match. Or the girls leaving the driveway of 1119 and walking over to 1112, they have the same clothing on. So you know that it's the same people, if that makes sense. As I'm moving between each camera, it starts to make sense. Okay, these vehicles belong to the neighborhood. If you don't see who's getting into the vehicle specifically, we might not know. But I think we can determine that they are people who live right there. So it moves around a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. And you know what, Ron, I just had an epiphany. I remember, Sam, you remember when we started, I think it was when we did our first show with Birdie. And Ron, you were very protective of DM. And so I think you've come full circle.
Yeah, I don't... yeah.
Just with the more evidence you've seen, it's easy to see that she knows more than what was told at a minimum.
I probably have the same reaction that a lot of people do. Hey, she's went through her roommates were murdered. She was in the house while this was happening. I think I was thinking maybe she was threatened in some way. And that still could be, though I haven't seen a lot of evidence that suggests that to me. Mm-hmm. But since we've gone through interviews and learned more about this, I've just seen more instances where her story just doesn't add up. I mean, you can tell a story and give your memory of something that happened and get some details wrong. But this is to the point that it's just, she couldn't have forgotten that she was on her phone and moving around for 8 hours after the murders.
Right. What do the three of you guys think about this wording? As far as Dylan being threatened, would the word threatened be in the same category as being a hostage? And the reason I bring that up is because Chief Fry is asked that question from a reporter behind the podium if it was a hostage situation, and he says no. So I just wonder, does that shed any light on her being threatened or no? Because I know hostage, like you're against your will, right?
Yeah, you can't. You're not free to leave. Is the way I would envision my
right.
Mind. And threat is like a future act.
And Chief this. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep interrupting.
Oh, that's okay. It's okay.
Chief Fry addresses it very quickly with the reporter. I think it's the same reporter who's in the docu as well too. For whatever. Sorry, I don't remember what paper she works for, but she asks him about a hostage situation. And he goes, no, it was not. And so I just wonder what the three of you think about being threatened in the word hostage, if they can go hand in hand or not.
I think there are threats involved when you're a hostage, but you can be threatened and, threatened enough to change your story or without necessarily being a hostage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's my favorite notation. The neighborhood cat makes a ninja move for a bird. Thanks for including that in here.
You guys, when I say I watched this like an eagle's daughter, that's exactly what I did. I take pride in it. Again, it was my job to watch in real time. So when I want people to look at this timeline, and whether it makes them chuckle at a certain point, they know that I was watching the camera the entire time. So Cat was there. He did a ninja move towards a bird. It was quite impressive.
Yeah. And part of an issue I've seen with this case, and maybe even applying it to the three of us when we first got into this case, is I think a lot of people have a hard time thinking or pointing blame on college students. Like, there's no way that anybody that was a student at college could have participated in the most horrific crime scene this country's seen in a very long time. And, you know, and I look back at maybe some of my own thoughts, you know, a year and a half ago, you know, I probably, no, there's no way. And then as we get a little bit more evidence, you can start realizing that there absolutely is a way. But I do think, I see it all the time on TikTok, is that people have a hard time blaming young adults, specifically students. Sam, I know you and I have talked about that.
Yeah, I think for me it's challenging because I feel like probably most of us out there watch crime documentaries, and you see a homicide happen, someone's spouse is murdered, and the first person they look at is the person that's the spouse. They're clearing people. They're getting in there and really evaluating people's alibis. And so I feel like you do often see investigators ask very tough questions, and I just didn't see tough questions being asked in this case. And so that's always been really troublesome for me, whether you're involved in it or not. If I'm not involved in the case and I was being interviewed the way that some of these adults were being interviewed, and when I say adults, I mean the college campus, they're not kids, they're adults, but the way that they were being interviewed, it to me is really troublesome, because if I was in that situation, I would want the hard questions to be asked of me, because I would want to be cleared and I would want to be providing as much information as I possibly could for them to have a lead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one more question before we get back to the timeline. Ron, what do you think about this question? Because I think it's a great question. His exact words were irrelevant, right?
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
An accessory, that's the other word I remember.
You know, anything that doesn't fit your narrative, if you believe your narrative is true, is going to be irrelevant. I mean, honestly. Yeah.
That's his.
So I think he thinks it doesn't matter. I don't think he is. His opinion turns on whether the cars seen entering or leaving the area are Brian's or not. His opinion seems to be based in something else. So whether or not those cars are his or not, I don't think necessarily is important to him. Kind of like how Turvey didn't really care about the beer pong table, where others did. And it's not because it's not necessarily irrelevant. It just didn't have anything of interest to him, because his opinions are based on something else. Like, you know, Sam may not care about the ninja cat, but to me, that was
I deeply care about that, Ron.
I'm happy you enjoyed that, Ron.
Sam loves cats.
Do I? I think you've just
What's
made
that reality show that you watch that I always make fun of?
Oh my gosh. One time 15 years ago, I said I like Meerkat Manor, and those are not cats.
You watched like an 8-part series on meerkats.
Yeah, but okay.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I have Bengal cat.
I don't even know what meerkats are. What are they?
Bengal cats.
They're like prairie dogs.
It's a small mongoose, Kristen, if we're going to get technical. It's not a cat.
All right, I'm going to have to go.
Got lots of information about meerkats now.
And D-Boy, that is a great question to fire back. Yes, Brian was still in college. I think I was probably leaning more towards the younger age. I know that Brian was getting his PhD, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It was very easy to pin it on Brian, who is a postgraduate student, but it's really hard for a lot of people to wrap their head that around the fact that 19, 20, 21-year olds could have been part at a minimum of such a heinous crime. You're 100% right.
I think that's such a weird comment for people to make. Like, there are kids who are murdering their parents. I mean, those are also episodes on the TV. You've got teenagers murdering their friends. I mean, that comment I think is really freaking weird, if you ask me, because it's any, but you've got legit kids murdering their parents or teenagers murdering their friends. Like, what do you mean college students couldn't do this? Why? I mean, you've got kids murdering their parents. Why would college students be any different? Comments like that just get me going because they're just silly. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Of course they're capable.
Yeah. Now, I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way or in the way that I don't mean it, but you see a lot of times when you're talking about profiling serial killers and people who grow up to be killers, they often have a history of killing / torturing animals initially as they're younger. Idaho, and I would say this about Utah too, where I went to college. There are a lot of hunters there. And I'm not saying that hunters are psychotic killers, but what I'm saying is hunters are, deer hunters especially are a little more not as grossed out by some of the gore and stuff that would gross me out, for instance.
So are you not a hunter?
I am not a hunter.
No. I'm a new hunter. My husband and I have lots of land over here, so we can legally hunt. We walk out in our backyard. We've got bow season starting in a couple of months over here. I am still a rookie at it, but it is what you're getting at. And I am a rookie, so this is only my second, third year, but until I didn't grow up with that way of life, Ron, with no disrespect to hunting. This just wasn't how I was raised, and my parents just didn't do that. We ate meat. It wasn't, however anyone feels about that, but we just weren't raised like that. My husband and I are, making that tradition, I guess you could say yourselves, and he's been very successful in the last year or two with putting meat on our table. And as a woman and as a mother, I feel very empowered that I get to do that as well. And he also lets me go do that. And I don't mean that in a weird, like lets me go do it. I absolutely walk out of my house and leave him with 4 screaming children while I go sit in the woods peacefully and wait for a 10-point buck to come. But until I did it, I would have absolutely freaked out with the smell. You're supposed to like dress in the field or whatever the term is. You're supposed to basically gut it in the field. Well, we didn't do that because on our bow hunting day, it was so hot. It was mosquito-y. It was just terrible. So we dragged that thing back to our property and it was just so hot. It was terrible. But the smell was absolutely excruciating. And I have never with a dead animal in my entire life. And I was up close and personal doing things I thought I needed a mask. The smell was just effing terrible. I'm not joking. And as the season went on, even the next year, I don't think that smell got any better. I think you just learned to almost get used to it in a way. But you're not wrong. I mean, for someone like myself who wasn't involved in that life and then to see it, I'm like, oh shit, like this is right in my garage. You know what I mean? Again, it's a way of life for people. And I understand that way of life. I do, but it is something to witness.
And believe me, I know when I was in Utah, I knew when the first week of the deer hunt started. I knew when the deer hunt ended. I knew all that stuff, and I wasn't even involved. I mean, hunting is a big way of life for a lot of people in that area because there's a lot of deer. Just like we have a lot of surfers down here by us because we happen to have the ocean. That's what people do. People up there they go hunting. So a lot of young men and probably young women too in Idaho are going to be desensitized to, by dealing with large animals that they have had to. I mean, you kill a deer, you've got to dress it right there. You're not, you like you said. And so you're cutting and slicing and doing all this, and you're becoming a little desensitized to that. So it's not, not a huge turn off offer, it's not going to gross you out. You're going to be able to deal with it. Now, contrast that to someone who potentially is on the autistic spectrum and potentially is a germaphobe and has other issues. It's a lot harder to believe for someone like that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But I highlighted this.
Wait, hold on, Ron.
Because this is.
Wait, hold on, Ron. If you're going to go into a different section, because I wanted to ask the three of you. Them not talking about the smell they don't really address that very often. Is my perception. Like law enforcement, I know it's asked in interviews, because you would think that, for unalivings would have a smell, and my perception was they kind of avoided it. I didn't know if that was your guys' perception as well.
There would be a smell, and by the time they came, that's 8 hours.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as Sam told us, you could watch Titanic 3 times before they came, so that's quite a while for the smell to marinate.
Yeah, it's a incredible amount of time. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and watching body cam from Officer Homeboy, from Sergeant Gunderson, I think Snyder wasn't doing it so bad, but Nunez, all of them, in my opinion, are very much like having a hard time breathing in there. Of course, they're not saying anything, but if you watch the body cam, those who do, they'll understand what I'm talking about. I had to stop with Officer Warner because I don't know why he's breathing the way he's breathing. He's not running, and I mean that wholeheartedly, and that's why I'm thinking it's got to be the smell. Like, he didn't do anything. He is down the steps now, and he is breathing like it smells terrible in that house. Again, that's my opinion from watching the body cam, but it's not just one officer. You've got Gunderson, you've got again, Warner, you've Nunez. If you're listening to them, they very much sound like they're having a hard time breathing in that house. And that's why I think they're moving around. So
they were covering their faces too in their body language.
And I think I've said this before on something. I breed snakes, and so snakes eat dead rats. And so, in fact, last night was feeding day for us. And I can tell. We feed them frozen. The rats are already dead. They're frozen. We thaw them, and then I'll take them out of their little plastic, and I'll put them on under a heat lamp, like a kitchen heat lamp.
Yeah.
And start heating them up. Sometimes the rats come and there's some blood that has resulted from the process that killed them. It only a few minutes of warming those up, and I can smell that blood from anywhere in the garage, which is where I have them. And I think this is different. I saw Blue Rain's comment, the smell of death typically begins 24 to 72 hours of death. That may be for an
like a natural death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the smell of blood from open wounds, if it, in a house that has the heat on, I'm sure, because it was wintertime, I have a hard time believing that even at this time, like when Bethany was calling her dad, that she didn't say, hey, why does it smell like copper here? Because that's what it smells like. It's an unmistakable. And even just walking anywhere in the house, you would smell the amount of blood that there was in those rooms. And
I think that's a good point, Ron.
You would smell that in a matter of hours. Absolutely, I think. So.
And also consider how small that house was. It was not big. I know people think, there were so many rooms, but that house was not big.
No. So, but yeah, and I know the difference because
there was one comment I left up for a while, but we didn't get to it, and I was going to have you or Sam respond to it. I think there was a comment by a nice person in our chat that said that they had to turn off our interview with Cy Ray because they thought we were agreeing with everything he said, and that the three of us would be great poker players. Yeah, if you watch the whole interview, I think you could safely come to the conclusion that there were many things that we did not necessarily agree with the ultimate conclusion on. Ron, Sam?
Yeah. And The reality is it wasn't an interview of me. So I was just trying to ask as many questions as I could to get his opinion and to figure out where he was basing his opinion on, whether it was within the scope of his role as an expert or if it was just his more broad opinion on the case or on another expert, for example. So for me, that really wasn't an avenue for me to say, my opinion at that time. That's just how I was addressing it. I was just trying to, and I think we all were, ask as many questions as we possibly could in 3 hours or 3.5 hours. And I think we had many, many more questions that we could have asked. And of course, after you're done with the interview, you think, man, I should have asked that, or I should have followed up with that. And I think we would have been there all day then. But we're really just trying to get as much of the opinions out from him that we could. What was your thoughts, Kristen?
Yeah, I already answered, but I'm right there with you. I'm right there. Well, Ron, before you answer, Katie, I have to come clean about something because it was time for some Botox, and I actually moved my appointment up a week early, just so that my poker face would be at the perfect level, so I could hide my. I have a tendency to show a lot of feelings on my face, and I kind of roll eyes a little bit too much, but
You did a great job. All three of you did. As an outsider who was not part of that interview, watching it, you guys, I personally don't agree with that comment. I don't think you guys agreed with everything he said. I think you guys very much so handled yourselves so well. And I would say 98% of the true crime community understood that as well too. So you're always going to get one of those comments, but
no, and she did come around, and I think she was, I think she's seen maybe from this one or the one we did with Andrew Myers that might not have been the point. Okay, but Ron, what did you think?
Now I forgot the question.
Did you?
I'm just thinking. I thought I had a pretty good poker face, but I guess not after seeing everybody's comments.
I personally there's a lot of people that have taken screenshots or screen grabs of our faces, and that's been very enjoyable for me. I have a real RBF, and there's some funny ones out there. So
those are my initials, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm accused of having it.
There was one, I think it was Birdie, when Ron called in, he was doing a clip, and all three of us, Cy has a huge smile on his face, and he's giggling, and all three of us are no reaction. And I was I go, that is great. That is great.
Yeah. No, this was and this channel is not intended as a debate channel. There are debate channels, and believe me, I listen to them, and I enjoy a lot of them. I am not as eloquent as many of them are, so I don't really want to get into debates and stuff that much. And if this was a debate about the Kohberger case, then it would be a different story. But our interviews, we want to explore the opinions of these people that we bring in, the ones who are experts on the case. We want to explore the basis for that. And so we want to get information out there. We don't necessarily have to comment at the time either, because this channel goes on after the interview, and we will go on our channel and other channels, and we can certainly talk about those. And secret to everybody, that's a good way for us to have content here. We can have an interview, and then we can talk about it and do this other stuff. But it's funny because I had a deposition recently where I was pretty confrontational with someone,
which is not a pattern of life for Ron. So.
No. I mean, it was, I was pressing him on not giving an answer, and he turned to his attorney and said, "I don't like this." And I just fired back, "You're not supposed to like it," and just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. That might be fun to put up the transcript sometime, but we do that as part of our jobs, and we can do it. And we will do that with judges and arguments and stuff. But these interviews are not intended and not supposed to. I don't think there's a lot of benefit in doing that, because we also don't want to run off everybody and get people not willing to come and share their opinions with us if they think they're going to be different. If we're going to just rip them to shreds, we're going to run out of people to talk to, and people will start not wanting to come and talk to us.
And that's a great point, Ron, because we get a lot of emails or messages, saying, oh, you could have been tougher, you could have been stronger. And we have to remember, we want the information that he is willing to share with all of the concealment and everything that went wrong with the investigation. Are we going to get it from him if we bring him on our show and then publicly humiliate him? He's just going to end the interview, and then it's not like a real deposition where we can say, no, you have to stay here and answer. He's just going to say we're done. And so it's a balancing act.
Yeah. And we really did appreciate, we don't automatically discredit somebody because their opinions are different from us. That's part of learning, is we like to explore it and let them explain it rather than just discredit from the beginning. And that's how you get people to share more things with you. So, yeah, that's our intent with the interviews.
And there was a question up here. I think Katie already lost it. But yeah, that's what happens when you work together for 12 years. Sam and I generally know what the other one is thinking or going to say. I think Sam might sometimes hold her breath because she knows I'm probably going to say something that didn't go through the filter, but that's Sam is really good at catching that for me. But yeah, when you work together every day, I think I probably see her significantly more than I see any of my siblings, that we like to hand it off to each other saying, hey, you bring this home, girl, because we know the same stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back into the timeline.
So here's what I did. I highlighted this because this to me is significant, because this again was at the time when supposedly Dylan and Bethany were asleep. Although Bethany did call her dad at 8 something in the morning, right here, I guess. But Dylan from 8 to 10 is on Instagram. Now, here's the thing. If it's 8 a.m., so these people have been dead. Her roommates have been dead in her house for at least 4 hours. Yep. And she's spending 2 hours on Instagram without noticing lack of movement in the house. Where is everybody? Oh, I'm hungry. Can I step out? Oh, what's that smell? That's really, really shady to me.
Yeah.
And I wish that in all the interviews that people did with her, that the law enforcement did, that they would have had this information to be able to ask her, well, what were you doing on Instagram for 2 hours in the middle of the morning when you said you were asleep?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's not even get into her conversation with her dad shortly thereafter, which was the weirdest exchange of communication, considering there are 4 unalive people in the house.
Bethany and her too.
No, I'm talking about Dylan, where her dad just reaches out to her and wants to set up like a casual check-in call, and she's like, no, this time will be better. And it's just the weirdest exchange to me. I can't even process it. It's so bizarre.
And again, remember, these girls were so scared that night that Bethany ran down into Dylan's room, and they stayed there supposedly. And yet Bethany calls home, talks to her mom and her dad, fails to mention, a few hours ago I was scared because some masked man that I don't know was in my house.
Mm-hmm. And I heard a firework.
Now I know that people will go back and forth with the book, but again, it was updated. I read this. I read the entire book to my TikTok community, and they heard it as well too. That again, this is in there. It says new reporting with their 320. I don't know if it said interviews, but apparently it's noted in there 2 times that when Bethany spoke to her, was it her father or her mother, that she mentioned Dylan Dylan's dream or something like that. It's noted once or twice in the book, and I found that to be interesting because I don't think we've heard anything of her talking to her parents about something sketchy happening in the house. But again, this is just me pointing it out because I read the book, or there's this information, this, and that. But it's something that, of course, wasn't in court documents or records, but with this apparent new reporting, it says that she told her parents on the phone about something weird happening in the house. And I would just love to hear the audio from those phone calls or get some sort of transcript to confirm what was said on that phone call.
Yeah.
Something weird. That's
There's a comment here from Cool Dude Jammin'. Can you put that up? It's
Which
right
one, Ron?
after Masked Man in a Party House. Because this is something that I've seen, and I've seen the comment. Well, is it really that weird? It was a party house. It's also a party house for really a select group of people. Everything that we've seen from the interviews from the frat boys and everyone is that, yes, there were parties there, but they were with people that they knew, and that they routinely would kick out people who they didn't know or didn't want to be there. And again, at 4 a.m, when everybody was settling down and going to sleep, you still, even if it's in a party house, are you going to expect a masked man wandering your house when you know that your roommates were home and where everyone was getting ready for bed? That still would be unusual. I mean, I get the point. Yeah, it was a party house, but I think this was different enough, concerning enough, even for a house that has a lot of parties and a lot of people coming back and forth. Yes, it was a party house, but it's not a public, some sort of public establishment where someone might be wandering around at all hours of the night for a good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what's the explanation for the next day if it was just a casual day and that had happened before? Then why aren't you going to find all your other roommates and sitting in their room and checking on them? And I mean, so that's just, there's such a disconnect there. You would approach if there was no issue. You'd be running around if you're in a small house living with roommates, asking everyone to go to breakfast, trying to figure out what happened, talking about it, who was over, even if it was a casual thing. And so it just wasn't. I mean,
Weird.
Sorry.
It's weird.
Sorry, we're done. But again, this was a small house. This was not a large house.
right.
Yeah.
Very small. And let's not forget, Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong. I know, I think Sam actually brought this to my attention when we were going through all the evidence, is that once Dylan heard, I think it was Kaylee, right, saying that someone was here, what did she do? She went in her room and locked the door.
So she's such a good friend. She locked the door on her friend.
Right? and I just remember, she went in the room, locked her door, and then ultimately
apparently she looked around for her taser, according to again James Patterson and Vicki Ward with this new reporting. I would just really like if they could get back to my email and just confirm if that's true, because it's in 2 different places. It's on my timeline with the page number that Dylan Mortensen not only shut her door, but she looked around for her taser, but it was dead. So I think that's so is that a flash that Bethany sees? Why don't we hear about that taser?
And what is the source of that as well?
Yeah, and I mean, it's mentioned twice, so I just think...
No, that's a great point. We're gonna, if he gets back to you, we'd love to know that as well. And I just wanted to give a really, really big shout out to Lana. She has been a great resource and a great friend to us, and it's just really, really nice to have support of other YouTubers in the community. It can be the streets can be a little tough navigating sometimes. And I just wanted to say thank you. She's, we all try to help each other out where we can. We have different strengths, different weaknesses. And I think Lana had a ultimate marathon this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
What was it, Lana? 16 hours, give or take? But I will tell you that Lana works very, very, very hard. And the 3 of us have nothing but huge support for how hard she works and what she brings to this community.
Well said.
Yeah, I kept texting Kristen throughout the day. She's still on. She's still going.
I know, and she's gonna kill me. But she told me last night 2 hours, and I laughed because I ended up going to bed pretty late, and I was like, man, that is wild. But she definitely works her ass off, and
Yeah.
there are so many creators that are in this for the right reasons. See, she just said 15 hours. That are in it for the right reasons. It's not about the clicks. It's about following the evidence, and it's really about collaborating, working together, and leaving all the other bull crap to the side.
Agreed.
And
All
Lana,
right.
oh,
Where are we
Lana,
going next?
I'll touch base with you. Sorry, just a personal.
Yeah. And Lana has some really great information going on with the EWU case. So if you have not, I'm sure most of you follow her, but if you have not, run over to her page, subscribe. She has great subscription options, but she's got great material out there. All right, Nikki, where are we picking up?
We can go to that 9 a.m. activity sensor data reports. Dylan distance traveled yet again. That's the same distance traveled at 8 a.m. as it is 9 a.m. So whatever she's doing or her Apple Watch is doing, it appears she traveled the exact same distance.
So is that feet, yards, meters?
You know, if only they would clarify. Unfortunately, we only get what was in the book. I put it into Google, if you want to say, and it will only take you so far. So again, I think depending on how anybody else would search it, that's why earlier I brought up like how many steps. Like it appears to be thousands of steps when I put this information into the computer. Even what does it say? Yeah, 3.52. Maybe it was the one at 5 a.m. However, I put it in, it did not make it look good. It made it look worse. It made it look like these were thousands of steps that were taken with this distance traveled. But I don't have anything to clarify that distance traveled. It's just the information that everyone else got from the broken lead timeline.
So she traveled 3.52 units of some sort of distance.
Yeah. And again, I just put that in. It will give you some sort of answer. It will say, okay, if you track it meters or kilometers, whatever. I don't like to do that kind of stuff, but it will give you, or anybody who wants to research it, some sort of guess of she was moving quite a bit, it appears. So it's not just like 5 steps.
Yeah, and look at this at 10 o'clock. She sends 7 outgoing Snap messages and receives 2, all before she's told her dad that something happened in her house last night.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Allegedly.
So then the neighbor sees the open door.
Yeah, 10:08. That's a problem.
Is this the dog walker? Nadeau? Is that the dog walker?
Yeah, that's the dog walker. And then I have it where you can see him in view on the camera at 10:08:49. So it lines up to, again, with what Christopher Whitcomb put in the book. Again, I just tried to put the exact timestamp of when I can see him in range with the dog. So again, people know I looked at it. But you see him there. And not only that, you've got vehicles moving around, all that stuff. And then Dylan has all of these incoming and outgoing messages. It's absolutely stupid. And then, where are you guys? You're still at 10:13. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the whole page, you got a whole page that's just her phone data, incoming and outgoing messages.
Look at that.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. And then you got the text messages, to Kaylee. And then from 10:30, or 10:23, where you guys are at. I mean, all of those incoming and outgoing messages. Emily saying she woke up around 10:30, so she's awake. At 10:37, it's pretty awkward because the balcony / porch cam, it goes like in and out of being like muted. And I find it weird, but just before it mutes, you can hear someone say like someone's name and it goes, "You have your wiener out." And it clear as day, it sounds like someone saying you have your wiener out. So I don't know what conversation is going on, but it mutes directly after that comment. It's so sketchy. It goes in and out every few minutes. And that's the raw footage. It's just so weird. That was at 10:37. Yeah. The wiener comment, I'm like, who is that?
That
is very weird.
And
Yeah.
Lana just shared too in the comments, we had it up a second ago, that she's comfortable sharing with us that Sai had told her that Dylan and Bethany had never officially gone to sleep, which that would make a lot more sense to me than they were asleep in their beds. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that she's saying she doesn't know if she was dreaming or not. So that kind of clears that up.
Well, and she flat out told police she went to sleep.
Yep.
At 4.
And this
And so
is
they
the
never questioned her.
eyewitness. This is the eyewitness, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's just a joke. And then I had a recent viral video, I guess you could say. I think they mass reported it, so I think it eventually stopped going up. But that's just what happens to me a lot on TikTok. That's just what they do. I shared a comment.
Look at what Brian's sharing with you.
Reed. Well, is that AKA That's K-Bar Charlie, right? Or is it a different Reed? Rio? We've got 2 different Reeds. Reed O, I can't pronounce that name. I'm not going to try. And then Reed.
Brian, which Reed is it? You got us all hanging. Amanda says Wiener Schnitzel.
It's clear as day. Someone says your wiener is out. He says the name. He says
the name is Reed. Got it.
Because you can hear someone like say a name. I just didn't know what the name was. Got it. Thank you.
Interesting. See, look at, we're all better together.
And that's why, again, when you have something, again, I'm sure there's other, timelines as well. I really try to focus on this specific entire time and go second by second if I could. I think it definitely paints, again, a picture. Something I forgot to say, though, in my viral video, and I think it's one of the most important things to say, is that 10:59, Justin Nadu returns from walking the dog and the front door to the King residence is still open. The one thing I forgot to say is at 11 o'clock, the next minute, when the door should probably still be open, Dylan has a phone data measured 120 meters in length, 2 stories in height, while the front door to the King Roadhouse is open. Now, if anyone wants to argue that this might not be exactly 11 o'clock, well, that's fine. It just makes it worse for her, because if it's going to calculate it at 10:15, 10:30, 10:45, the front door to the King Roadhouse is open regardless. So I think that is the worst part of the entire timestamp when it comes to that, because no matter how anyone wants to argue if it's her watch or whatever, it's probably recording somewhere between 10 and 11 when the front door to the King Roadhouse is open and she is traveling her watch. Are they putting the dog back up to the 3rd floor? What are they doing? But that, I think, is so sketchy.
Yeah, and you did a video, I think I was listening to it yesterday, and you were so fired up, and I was literally like hyping you while I'm watching this video going, get him, Nikki, get him. It's a very, very, very good video. I encourage everybody, I don't know if it's on YouTube, but if you head over to her TikTok, Nikki has a great way of making you feel like you are part of something bigger than yourself. And it was, you got me, Nikki, you got me. I thought it was great.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to do, is just
Amanda B says up more.
Yeah.
And Amanda B is the doc guru.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I can make people feel something through my videos as, again, a journalist or a writer, I feel like I did my job, especially because I know that I'm giving everyone as truthful information as I can. So it means a lot to me that I can put my phone up and hit record and create this video, and I either get people fired up. I get that. I've had people tell me that they were crying after that recent video that I posted, and I mean crying. And I had some of my haters make videos saying, she got my respect. If I can make somebody feel something through the phone, I think I did my job, how I want to do my job. So that's just what I want everyone to hopefully get from the video, not just me getting loud at certain times. I think it's necessary to, get loud at times, but just so everyone understands that. I know I'm a big personality over here, so.
Ron, did you just see this comment by Lana? That's that would be very helpful.
The girl, they said, drove the SUV at 424. Oh, yes.
Ooh.
I'll be anxious to see that.
Yeah. And we look forward, Lana, once you get that, we look forward to watching your live and explaining it all, because that has been a missing piece.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
So there's a lot of people walking around, getting into cars and stuff with tote bags and stuff here.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
I was almost writing paragraphs at this point. I mean, it's just terrible. You have so many people out and about doing stuff. But yeah, that 110642 specifically, those people in that house, you know, they're carrying like a blue tote. It appears to be heavy. I mean, he's not just carrying it up here. He's kind of walking with it a certain way.
Yeah.
I mean, how would that not be sketchy? You have a quadruple homicide down, you know, behind you, and you have all these people with gloves on, or, you know, loading the truck 20, 30 minutes before 911 is called.
Yeah.
Nikki, you got a question up there, girl?
I sure do have. I hate saying this name. Eon. He is on my timeline around 2:00 in the morning. The yellow grub truck stream. It's yellow. He is on there. I have him next to Hannah in parentheses. I have Hannah. I have an aunt lookalike. That is a girl in a white jacket who looks like the aunt of Hannah. They are two different people. I do believe Ion is next to the aunt Hannah, but they are on the timeline. Yes. I got their order number 66, I think. Oh God. But there's an order number with their food. All that stuff is on there. But yeah, he's sketchy. I did not. He got home around 3 a.m. That's interesting. Thank you.
Look at all these still Snapchats.
Yep.
Constant.
Crazy. It's I'm telling you, Snapchat it would solve this case in a minute.
Yeah. And you've got all those cars driving around. Who knows if the door is shut yet to the front, to the King Roadhouse. We have no idea what time it shuts. But you've got all that activity. I mean, I'm writing paragraphs at this point. You've got people returning to the balcony cam at that 11:17:30 mark. They leave, they come back. It sounds like they're talking. They go inside. Like, there's just so much activity. It's insane.
It's even more insane looking at it one after the other on your timeline.
Yeah, and that's why, again, I think that even though this is 44 pages, I think once you are able to just be able to focus and look at it and read it, I think again, in my own opinion, it definitely paints a picture of everything going on. And it appears it's the whole neighborhood.
So then why would they try to start this with the dateline? It was a quiet night in Moscow. I mean, it's like even their slogan completely defeats actual reality. It's crazy to me.
That's why I say it in every closing video, because I thought that was very ironic that they said it was a quiet night in Moscow, because everything I've researched shows that it was the exact opposite. It's crazy.
All right, where are we at on the timeline?
I backed up a little bit. I was looking for something, but let me go back. So we're at 11:47. We're getting up to where the near to where the 911 call was. So yeah, she's on Instagram again.
Yep, but just a little further up, 11:30 per Trent and Ryan, which again, someone put it on the screen. I said that maybe an hour ago. Maybe instead of Quinn, we're hearing Gwyn, and I think that's Trent or Ryan. It's one of their last names. At 11:30, You've got Ethan is unresponsive and gone per their group chat. Again, a 911 call has not been made yet. So
per their group chat, there was a group chat where somebody said at 11:30 that Ethan is gone, or Xana.
At 11 o'clock, it started that there was an unresponsive person, and then by 11:30, they knew the unresponsive person was Ethan, and he was gone based on their interview. Crazy, isn't it?
Based on their interview, did law enforcement ever get those texts that chat? Because that would be a group chat. That would be just text messages, right?
I think he said he might have said Snapchat group chat. He could have said that, which is probably what they were using to communicate with. But regardless, it shouldn't be an issue to get Snapchat records.
Yeah, and I'm not super familiar with Snapchat, but I think people think that the snap just disappears and goes away. But the little research that we've done with experts is my position is things are never ever completely gone.
No.
Sam or Ron, have you guys ever dealt with Snapchat in any of your cases? I've just really dealt with Instagram and Facebook for the most part.
in DoorDash, right?
Yes, DoorDash. I have a big fat subpoena out on DoorDash right now.
It's hard enough getting text messages in a format that you can use them in court. I can't imagine Snapchat because they disappear like that. Because the phone companies don't keep the text messages. You got to get them off of the phones, and the phone companies Apple at least doesn't make it easy to download your texts. I've seen some people that will give them to me through a screen recording where they scroll through them, or people take individual screen photos of them, and it's really awkward to use them. So it's not. I can't imagine Snapchat where they're not even really on the phone. So.
All interesting.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
then we got those sketchy 11:38. She's still sending and receiving. I mean, look at all that shit right before
We call 911 and report a quadruple homicide.
And her dad, I think that is one of the most concerning things to look at too. I don't know how anyone could look at her and not think she's a terrible actress, because 15 minutes later, they're going to call 911. She had access to her father. That's the one person you should call besides 911, besides your boyfriend, which apparently she did call. But all that information being hid and then whatever. But your father, and I think it was her stepdad. And as far as what I've seen and what he puts on.
No, I think it's her real dad, and then I think it's her stepmom. But I might be wrong on that.
I think in her interview, she talked about her dad passing away, but I could be wrong too. But I think isn't Brent the stepfather, but I thought whatever I'd seen online, he doesn't seem like he is somebody who would shy away from protecting his daughter by any means. So why would she not say, hey, Dad, I need your help?
Yeah. Or, when the dad asks, hey, is this a better time? It's like, hey, Dad, can I talk to you? Something really, really bad happened last night. I'm not sure what. I can tell you my dad would be in one of the top 3 calls that I would make an emergency, probably with Sam being one of them. But, I have a good relationship with my dad, but he would have been one of the absolute first calls, and it probably would have been 2 minutes rather than 8 hours.
No, same. If it wasn't my husband, if I didn't have one, it would have been my parents, without a doubt. I have a good relationship with my parents as well, too. But I would have, if it wasn't 911, it would have been.
To mention it is just so weird.
And to actually have the contact back, too. It's not like she just sent a message. She was communicating. You know what I mean? There was contact. So it just makes it look worse.
Ron, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things here. We have Bethany calls Jenna, 11:49. Roommates aren't answering. Now, the last contact that we see, I don't know if that would be the Instagram with any of them, is before Dylan got the text with her dad. So even if we assume that this 11:38 is Dylan trying to an outgoing snap to one of the roommates, number one, that was before talking to her dad.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning before this attempt, this is the last attempt before that I can see on these records from before the 911 call. The last attempt to potentially contact the other roommates was before her dad contacted her. And so meaning that the information they had to call 911 that, hey, our roommates aren't answering, happened before she talked to her dad, but yet 2 works better, Dad. Not, hey, Dad, we can't, our roommates aren't
dead.
Yeah, our roommates aren't responding. We had a strange man in our house. He scared us, but we didn't tell anybody for 8 hours.
Right.
I don't get it. And that's even assuming that these snaps are, we don't know who those are to. The last one that we can determine was to one of the roommates was right here where Dylan texts Kaylee, "Are you up?" That's at 11:29.
Yeah. And some of those are Dylan at 11:38. Some of those are outgoing messages. So she's absolutely communicating with someone right before her and her father exchange those messages. So that's actually very interesting.
There's incoming and outgoing right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's communicating with someone. She didn't just send something. She sent a good few, and then she's communicating with somebody.
So you got all that going on. And then down here at finally 11:49, Jenna, our roommates aren't answering 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Bethany to Jenna. Yeah. Yeah. At 11:49.
So then all of this, Jenna, Emily.
Yep.
So they come over.
Yep. And then get right to like that 11:54, 11:55. This is when Hunter Johnson should be on scene. This is when he's going to have to put his code into the front door. That's his own words from his interview. So at what point did that door get shut? Because Hunter has to open it. So he should be on scene at 11:54, 11:55. And then I put the court documents in there as well, just so everyone could kind of read it. But together, Dylan, Bethany, Hunter walked upstairs to the second floor. When they reached the second floor, Hunter went to the kitchen to grab a knife. When he came back out, Dylan Mortensen saw Xana for a split second, and that's probably a spelling error, the rafted. I just started bawling because I thought I don't even know. I thought maybe she was still drunk and asleep on the floor. Hunter will tell Dylan and Bethany to get out. Emily shows up at this time and starts going up the stairs. Hunter tells her to go away. Those are the words from the first, I think, court document drop. Again, trying to give that information to the readers so that way they could have, the accurate information, court documents as they continued the timeline as well.
So this says that Dylan said she saw Xana and thought she was maybe still drunk and asleep on the floor. So this was almost noon. So the light would be coming in through windows. It would not be dark. Based on what you've seen of the descriptions of Xana at this time, is there any way she could confuse Xana for someone who had passed out drunk?
I will answer it as calmly as I can. Absolutely not. I think that is just a disgrace to Xana's memory and how hard she fought for her life to have anyone walk by that bedroom and think that she was drunk and passed out. And passed out with 3 gallons of wine, red wine or something. Like, it's absolutely, it's stupid in my opinion to think that someone wouldn't know that that's blood. And I mean, 67 times, like, someone really has to comprehend 67. I mean, she had one hand that her fingers were almost gone. That's a joke. I mean, Dylan Mortensen in her statement said she saw Xana's lips or something. I mean, she shouldn't be saying things like that if she thought she was just passed out on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think if you're to believe that you were concerned that your friend was unconscious for a significant period of time, it's unbelievable to me that you wouldn't be very, very close to their body, checking them out, trying to wake them up while you're making a call.
Absolutely. Even thinking about you could be scared, well, that's fine. There's other cases, I can't think about it, but I swear there was like maybe a sorority house or at least 8 or 9 girls where somebody came in and like killed all of them, but one girl survived because she hid under the bed or something, and she was still, like, I think tied up, but hid under the bed, and the person got so exhausted and confused with the numbers he ended up leaving. Well, that female, as soon as she thought she heard him leave, I don't know if she busted out the window or ran out the door, but as soon as she thought it was safe, she left. I think she was the only one surviving. I apologize, I don't know the exact story there or the names, but she stayed alive because she stayed quiet and she hid, but she didn't hide for 8 hours. She hid for when she didn't hear any noise. She ran out, she got help.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so inconsistent across the board, because it's like if you were really scared and you knew even a little bit of what happened, then why wouldn't you be in the front yard? You would be out. You'd be scared that the person or persons would maybe come back.
Absolutely.
That is something that always kind of sits with me.
I don't even think I thought about that until you just said that, Sam, about them coming back.
Right.
Here's a great question, and It's by Sophie P2K8S. Why has no one questioned the lack of blood on Hunter? He said he checked Xana's pulse. How do you do that without getting blood on himself?
Oh, we've questioned it. I don't know. He must be going like this with his finger and going like that, but it's in the court documents that he checked Ethan's pulse too, even though on body cam he says one thing. It's just such a mess, but I think he had white shoes on, tan shorts, if I'm not mistaken, bluish long sleeve champion hoodie, maybe. I don't know, but he should have blood everywhere, especially if he checks Xana. She's in a pool of her own blood. Dry or not, even if it's dry, it would be sticky. You'd have something on you.
And there would be footprints too, his footprints.
Yeah, that too. Sketchy.
Can we just ask you about the cleanup? What do you think, Nikki? You think there's a cleanup?
I thought that Cyree did a very good job of I don't know. I almost thought that he was I think he did a better job of defending Dylan than I think anybody has this entire time, of being able to like debunk things or say things a certain way. But
do you think there was a cleanup in this case?
Absolutely. I don't know how, and I don't think he made it sound like there just wasn't, in that it's more than, like, so many times somebody can walk out of a room and not have blood on the bottom of his feet, whatever he was saying. And I tried to get to the point where the state is saying that Kaylee and Maddie were attacked at the same time. There's two different people. I could understand maybe the attack on Kaylee and Maddie, someone not having blood on their feet, if they're on top of them in a bed and their feet are like behind them. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I could understand that, but I could absolutely not understand any blood going down the step from that third bedroom, and not understanding how you wouldn't have at least any footprints leaving Xana and Ethan's room.
I don't even know what the alternative situation would be, Sam, Ron. Like, how would, am I frozen? I am frozen.
I think that for me, what's difficult is sort of cherry picking the facts that we use, right? Like, let's ignore all the sound at the 2 a.m. hour. Let's ignore, it starts to just feel to me like we're fitting a narrative in where it doesn't necessarily belong. Like, I feel like a lot of people are saying there is no cleanup, and that's because they're trying to link it to the fact that you need Brian to allegedly be in that car that's speeding off. And so It just doesn't track to me that you're not using all of the information. So to me, it's just, in general, it's just not believable. And I think the idea that there was no cleanup is a conclusion that you have to come to, even though the evidence doesn't support that, only because you have to fit a time frame that you candidly can't put the crime in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Agreed. Because it was almost like a slippery slope, because he could argue it good, but then you have the other side arguing back, well, there should be blood everywhere. But like he said, where is the actual proof of the cleanup? But then we're arguing, well, because there's the lack of it, which proves the cleanup. But it's just kind of maybe a battle going back and forth until maybe they had some sort of, I don't know what would validate it. A cleaning rag there with blood on it. I mean, there was blood next to the sink. Wouldn't that determine a cleanup? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it being very clean in a lot of areas is pretty good evidence that there was a cleanup.
Exactly. And that bathroom especially too. Oh, but then he argued that whole thing like, well, you don't know if that bathroom was clean like that before. So again, he did a good job doing that, but I think there's enough at this point to keep firing back that I think we somehow still remain on top, I guess, if you want to say.
Yeah, and it's important to point out with the bathroom, it wasn't just that there wasn't, a towel, or there wasn't a extra roll of toilet paper or something. It was almost completely wiped clean.
Yeah.
It was almost like someone, and you have we have all these roommates living together, girls. I mean, how much stuff do we have as girls with all of our accessories? There's no way that bathroom was just simply not being used. It's not reasonable when you have that many girls living in a house.
Agreed. I always wondered if maybe they cleaned the dog up in that bathroom, or if that was done at like a different house. Like if they maybe cleaned the dog in that bathroom, or if something just escalated in there, or if they cleaned themselves off, something.
Yeah, and Blue Rain. Yeah, you're 100% right. we love our Blue Rain. But yeah, if they would have tested, then we wouldn't be sitting here 3.5 years later talking about it.
Well, they tested the drains of Brian Koberger's apartment and they found absolutely nothing, but they did not test the drains, like Blue Rain just said, of the King Road house. But I remember that on an episode of, I
The
think,
crime scene.
Wow.
They didn't test the drains of the crime scene.
Yeah, that was a video I made like months and months and months ago.
So you know what that goes to is they're trying to force their narrative to fit in the box.
Yeah, that's why they tested like his vacuum cleaner too, because of Dylan Mortensen saying she thought it looked like a mini vacuum. So they took his vacuum and tested that too, and there was absolutely nothing there. But they removed the drain from Brian Koberger's apartment because I briefly made a joke about who fucking paid for that. But they removed his drain and there was absolutely nothing found.
Atlanta, we're rooting for you. If there's anything we can do to help, Atlanta wants to interview Molly McMichaels, and I would love to watch that interview.
I'll tell Molly that if she doesn't take Lana's, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Lana's offer, then I'll have to be the one to do it. So I think she'd rather.
Yeah, I think Lana even offered her, for her time and effort to do an interview. I think she might have even offered her a little bit of compensation.
I think she did. I think Molly could be questioning that offer right now. So props to Lana. I hope she gets that.
Molly's right behind DM for being the most credible witness.
Oh my gosh. But noon is something, again, there's a lot of shit happening at noon. Something that was in the book. But also one night in Idaho, the brother Hunter will talk about his brother waking him up. He never says the name, but the name comes from the book. And that is Cooper Atkinson. And I think that this Cooper guy is very sketchy based on his movements throughout the night. And then it will also say that he is the one again to wake up the brother. And as they walk over to the King Road house together, apparently Cooper just starts walking off. So it was almost like Cooper did his job. He got Hunter Chapin where he needed to, and then Cooper seems to walk away.
And isn't he the one that you have, I think, where we started your timeline at 11, like he had a whole bunch of calls in a row?
He called Ethan 5 times on FaceTime, maybe around 2:00. Something around there. But there was something, I don't know if I'm jumping too fast, but I don't want to forget it, but for the longest time, I must have watched the body cam. I didn't start right away, but I always thought the door of Keely's room was shut, and I finally got on the right page of it being open. But regardless of that, I think Keely's door could possibly automatically lock, because after Sergeant Gunderson says to Nunez to lock the door because of Murphy, he like wiggles it a little bit, and I think you can almost tell he can't get it open. I have it on the timeline. Sergeant Gunderson will have a key with like a blue lanyard or whatever in his hand, and he's opening Keely's bedroom door with a key. And I wonder, where did they get that key? It's on body cam. So I'm like, I thought it was so sketchy. I'm like, how did you get the key to Kaylee's door? Who gave it to you? Or was it,
Mm-hmm.
But it's got like a blue lanyard. I don't know how else to say it, but he opens it with the key. So I think the door automatically like locks or something. And that's where I must have watched the body camera. And I thought the door was already shut or locked, but Gunderson tells him to shut it. But he uses a key to open Kaylee's door.
Interesting.
It's sketchy. It's on there. I think people should look at it. But I'm like, how'd you get that key? How'd you get that key?
See, that's the problem with this case. There's just way too many open-ended questions.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Let's keep going. Here's a question. I don't know this answer. Sam, Ron, Nikki, do you guys know that answer? I don't know that answer. I would think they'd be able to get into anything, but I don't know that they have a key that overrides.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. Well, hey, if that's the case, why wouldn't they use a key for the door on the first floor that had a padlock or a lock as well?
I remember seeing that.
So, I mean, if they've got a key, if it's universal, then they should have had no problem opening the locked door that they decided to leave locked for well over 20, 30, 40 minutes. So
it's all sketchy, Nikki. It's all sketchy.
So sketchy. So bringing up the key though is a good thing, but then why wouldn't they have used it for the other door? You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a great point. All right, let's keep going.
Here at 12:13 here, she's still talking to Officer Nunez, and she tells him, "I just saw my friend laying like that."
Yep.
When I called Hunter.
Yep.
With blood, covered in blood.
Yep. Yep. Those are the police report transcripts right there. So again, I thought it was important to give everyone the exact words there. Whitcomb says her exact words are important. I think they are too. I think she she tells on herself all the time, especially with how the phone call started. I called this person. It might not be at this 12:09, but she's going to keep explaining here at 12:13, whatever. And she clear as day says, like, none of the roommates were waking up. And then she says, I mean, no one was answering. So I think she tells on herself plenty of times.
I need to go back and listen to them all again from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. But I put them in there exactly how the reports had them, as the timestamps also. And as I'm listening to the body cam, also reading the transcripts, making sure it, matches up as well too. But she clear as day says at least 2 to 3 times to Nunez, it's Kaylee. It's never Xana. It's Kaylee and the dog.
Well, Nikki, this is great as we're just going through it because it really puts everything into one. And a lot of times when you look at videos, you don't realize how close they are together or subsequent or what happened first. But I know there's a couple really good creators that do it with just different scenes at the same time. But this is really good.
Thank you. I thought I put in there what I thought was important. Some people might not think things are important, and that's okay. They were important to me as I went through the timeline, and in those red, that's what you're seeing is red. I have it highlighted for people to pay attention to those words. I think those words matter very much. And then I called Bethany. She's talking about it's really confusing. I saw the guy, like all that, again, quoted directly from the police reports. And again, re-verified and watched on body cam, if you want to say.
And with respect to Nunez on the 1204, wasn't that door locked because it was like the landlord's area?
Team Idaho. There's just no attempt to. They don't even ask if someone's on the other side of the door. What if someone needed help? What if the intruder is on the other side of the door? I was shocked to see that they just didn't seem to care about this door. They have no idea what it is. I think it was just a boiler utility room, but they didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ron, keep us going.
At 12:32, you guys, I put that in there. I found it interesting. I know people had that rumor. I referenced where I cited my source around 12:30. I don't have an exact timestamp, but apparently Maisie Chapin told Dylan to shut the fuck up while she was outside desperately crying. I tried to find that and try to see if I could hear it on body cam. I was unsuccessful, but things are redacted from time to time, but it was in the book with the new reporting. I again put the chapter, everything there for anybody to go back and look at, but I found that to be very interesting. If she did say that, which it appears to be. So, it appeared, I don't know, Maisie didn't really like Dylan, tells her to shut the F up. But that's kind of, eventually once 12:31 comes, that's kind of where the timeline starts to dwindle out.
Yeah.
Murphy is very important in my opinion. I have some of Murphy on there as well. The call that Megan from the Humane Society makes, the time she thinks he should be missing, and when the dog is returned back to Jack D. So, yeah. I also put it on there too, in case anyone is trying to deep dive those phone calls even more. But on the episode of 2020, it's on the back of the timeline. Olivia Gonzalez stated on the Idaho 2020 Justice episode that when she went to call the girls the next afternoon, that Kaylee's phone went to voicemail and Maddie's phone wasn't answering. So just something to note, because as people look at these details, I'm not sure if these statements are also important. That she said Kaylee's phone went to voicemail, Maddie's didn't answer. So just little things there for the reader if they want it.
Well, Nikki, this is so impressive, and I really need to go back and look at it line by line, but thank you so much for compiling it and for being on our show. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here and letting me take you through as best as we could there minute by minute.
Yeah, and I'm froze, and I'm probably the weakest IT self-help solver ever, right with Sam. So I'm just going to leave it froze. But yeah, Nikki, I mean, this is really, really, really good. And it's an absolute asset to have this in our community, and people can add to it, or they can change it. But I know you really well now, and we're just so grateful to have you as a friend. And I was telling, I think I might have been telling you this morning, with all of this crazy stuff in this case and the corruption, the concealment, and all of the unanswered questions, I will say that the friendships that we've made along the way have been really, really nice and not necessarily expected. And so we have some really good stuff coming up. Nikki has some really good stuff coming up. And huge thank you to all of the content creators that were in our show today. We had Lana in the chat. Yeah, Katie, I know. I have frozen chalk face. That's exactly what I have. And we had Outcast earlier. I don't, if I missed you, it's not intentional. But I know both of them have new content that has come out in the last day or so, or it is happening tonight. So make sure you are getting those notifications. Comment, like, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Ron, what am I missing?
A face.
I know. I feel like if I try to fix it, I'm just going to screw up this whole thing.
Nikki, where will the doc be available for everyone?
I am going to post it on my TikTok, but then I'll also have it in like a video format, and I'll post it right on YouTube. So it should hopefully be on there within the next hour and a half here for everybody, because it is absolutely completely updated from the last one I posted with, as they could see exact seconds and timestamps. So it will be there shortly.
Great.
And
Brian Todd, you can still see me.
Ron's got a lot of fans. They love you, Ron. And a huge thank you to all the mods who have helped us, Meg and Blue Rain, and there's a whole bunch of you in here, Coco, and all of our team. Thank you so much for keeping this organized. We appreciate every single one of you. And for all the super chats, thank you very, very much for all of your support. We just absolutely love you guys. Sam, am I missing anything?
I think that's it for today. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And again, don't forget to go check out Nikki's channel. Thank you for being on, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Sam. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.